The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Points presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Good Monday, sir.
Good Monday, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. You're in your Akron Racers professional softball uniform.
Sure am.
All right.
Throwback to my racers.
Okay, now who wore number 2 back in the day?
This is Taylor Slopey, now Taylor Hugo. She's married, but Taylor Slopey back for the Racers. Played collegiately at the University of Georgia, and played for.
So you're actually wearing.
Played for 6 seasons in Akron.
So you're actually wearing a Georgia Bulldog uniform,
Yeah.
courtesy of the Akron Racers.
Right, you know.
Wow. I hope no one from Atlanta
Once-
at
hey,
Georgia Tech is watching
We had this discussion once.
It's a little embarrassing to have someone who claims to hate Georgia be a fan of someone who went to said university. I'm just throwing it out there.
We had this discussion. Once someone goes to your team in the professional ranks, where they went to college
Oh, I agree with you.
goes away.
I agree with that.
So I don't judge Taylor for her poor decision on where to go to college.
Okay.
So,
All
you
right.
know.
Look, I mean, if someone played for the Buffalo Bills that graduated from the University of Spoiled Children,
You would never get their jersey.
I would cheer for them every bit as much as I would
Exactly.
cheer for someone if they went to school in the basketball school of Ann Arbor, Michigan, because they're not a football school anymore. So yeah, I mean, I'll cheer for anyone that's on my beloved Bills.
We gave each other a lot of grief over the 6 years between.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Georgia Tech and Georgia. So
I'm sure you did. Okay, so
I made this bet with her that if she ever struck out looking with runners in scoring position this one season, that she would have to wear a Georgia Tech hat.
did she?
She did once.
Ooh.
And I held her to it.
How long did she have to wear that?
She just we wore it after the game. Took a picture with it, so there'd be evidence.
Okay.
All
right. Well,
so.
it is what it is. You take a called third strike, you're going to be wearing the enemy's hat. That's all there is to it. We had an interesting weekend of high school baseball. We had an interesting weekend of high school softball, college baseball, college softball. Where to start? I mean, we had 2 really cool places that YSN went to.
Because Columbiana just got spoiled this weekend with blessings.
Yeah, my whole thing was I saw that they played a team out of Western PA, Ringgold. Yeah, they played a team out of Western
Not
PA.
Molly.
No, not 16 Candles or what was the movie that she was in with the other
I just
people
remember
of her
from
era?
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club, 16 Candles.
But there's
Yeah.
your pop culture reference.
Yeah, there
for
you
the
go.
day.
There's the pop culture reference for the day. YSN was at PNC Park. Now, unfortunately, they didn't allow anybody in the broadcast booth. But honestly, I thought that you guys, the guys that did the game, DJ and Matt, you guys, you were actually in a better location in the photographer's well.
That camera angle was so cool. If you had a chance to watch it, you had basically on ground level, home plate. You're looking up at the players, and then all of a sudden, right there's the PNC scoreboard with the stands, and it was just, it was.
Yeah, it's a great field level. That's where all the photographers go. They go into the camera well, which is located just maybe about 10 or 15 feet from each dugout. On the first and third base side, you'll have people in the camera well. That's where the photographers would be located. And that was actually a really great look from field level as to what was going on. It was an interesting look, something that you would normally not see in a high school game, let alone a college game. I thought it was a really cool look.
Yeah, and then they got to go play at Canal Park in Akron as well.
Yeah, in downtown Akron, it's one of my favorite places. I did about a dozen games there, 9 in 2009, the only year I was in the Eastern League, and then I did 3 more games. The Erie broadcaster was away, and I did the Erie-Akron series, and I think it was 2013 or 2014. Lindor was playing for the then Akron Arrows. Now they're the Rubber Ducks. That's a great place. That's one of my favorite places. The folks who built that stadium did it right. It's in downtown Akron. It's in the middle of the city. It's an absolutely gorgeous facility, and they let our broadcasters, and I believe Mark and
Mark Franken, your buddy.
Yeah, Mark and I think Jeff was there. No, I'm gonna have to look.
I know Mark was there.
Yeah, well, he was being helped out. Anyway, that's a gorgeous facility. I mean, it truly is. And Columbiana beat Lisbon in a EOAC matchup 4-0.
How about that EOAC? We get to go play at Canal Park in Akron for an EOAC conference matchup.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, you do a couple of fundraisers.
It was Jeff. You were right.
Yeah, you do a couple of fundraisers, and you can spend some money going to two really cool places. I mean, because it does cost money to go, whether it's Progressive Field, and I think they opened it up a few years back. Hubbard played a game against one of the Cleveland schools up at Progressive Field. I think the Clippers have played at PNC now at least 2 times. This might have been their 3rd time. And you go to a major or a minor league stadium, and you're going to shell out a couple of bucks to do that. But man, it's worth it because you get an opportunity to play on some serious hollow ground. And Clippers did well. They didn't win in Pittsburgh, but they did win in Akron, and that was a big game because Lisbon and Columbiana were both undefeated in the EOAC.
The thing about they played well in Pittsburgh. I mean, they lost 9-5, but it was a good baseball game.
Yeah.
So neither team really shriveled up under the big lights of the PNC Park. I mean, I would be shaking in my boots if I went on that field and I was like, I'm about to play on this dirt that, like, best players in the world play on.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would just be like,
Yeah, it's just another home game. We're just gonna hang out here and we'll call this home for the night. Yeah, that said no one. I'm gonna guarantee you, high school kids were geeked over this. That's no question they were. Hell, I mean, if you had a 40 and over oldies group that played baseball at PNC, they would be fired up. I mean, you're in a major league field.
Imagine getting a home run there.
Well, now now you're in rarefied air. If you can put one into the seats, whether it be left field or into the bushes in
Right.
left center, or dare we dream, put one into the river and nail one over the right field fence and into the Allegheny. Yeah, now you're talking perfect day. And you can basically just...
My home run trot would be so slow.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I would be like, guys, I'm gonna take a little bit to take this all in. So I'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'm just gonna basically trot around the bases in a really slow pace because how many high school kids put one in the Allegheny? This guy. See ya. You imagine I mean, just getting one over the Clemente wall would be impressive. I mean, it's a 21-foot high wall in right field. I mean, you put one over the Clemente wall and into those chairs. All right, yeah, okay, you got something to crow about. You hit a home run at PNC. Okay, it's a high school game. I don't care. You hit a home run at PNC. Well, I used an aluminum bat. Again, I don't care. It's a home run. Home run in a major league park.
Kid threw a tennis ball. I don't care.
Exactly. Oh, your aluminum bat was juiced. I don't care. You hit a home run in a major league park. You get to celebrate. That's a perfect day. That's one of those days where you sit back and go, you know what? I can tell my grandkids or anyone under the sun, and you know, stories get a little bit, you know, the lies get a little bit, so you can really jazz that story up in about 40 years. Unfortunately, no one homered at PNC on Friday, but still, it would have been cool.
Eventually, that story gets into like the natural, where you hit it into the lights. And
the lights explode. Yeah, exactly. I had a friend of mine who got called for goaltending in a freshman basketball tournament. Now, his goaltending was not, I put my hand over the rim, swatted the ball away. No, his goaltending was, I grabbed the extreme bottom part of the net and yanked on it while a kid's shot was going toward the basket, and the official said, yeah, no, this basket's going to go. It's goaltending. And now 30 years later, oh, I had my elbow over the rim. This guy had come down, and I said, get that shot out of here. Dave, no. That's not how this story went. But we don't ruin the I caught a 10-foot fish when in reality it was maybe 6 inches. We don't ruin anyone's story 30, 40 years down the road, but it is kind of hilarious when we tell it.
Columbiana had a busy weekend, though. I mean, not only did they play those two games, they played Berkshire and Ursuline on Saturday. So they played 4 games over the weekend.
Yeah, they had struggled against Berkshire and Ursuline, and they were on a 3-game losing streak going into that game against Lisbon. And that, as we mentioned, that game against Lisbon, forget about the fact it's at Canal Park. This game is 2 undefeated teams in the league. Whoever wins this game has a leg up in the EOAC. Now, they do play each other again on Wednesday, and I doubt very seriously if they play that. Has anyone seen the forecast? It's not going to be pretty. But that game was huge on Sunday, and boy, Columbiana, they brought out the pitching and shut out Lisbon.
When you could shut out an undefeated team, that's a feather in your cap.
No question.
Speaking about shutting out a good team, West Branch. You see what they did to South Range over the weekend?
Yeah, that's
7-0.
And I drove past that game, and I didn't know what was going on because the scoreboard wasn't on, but I noticed there were a lot of people there, and why not? West Branch, again, this team had been struggling. They were kind of scuffling in their conference. They're now 8-5 on the campaign, but I'm surprised they were able to shut out South Range. South Range doesn't get shut out very often.
No, and then to score 7 on them too. I mean, 7-0. It wasn't like a 1-0 game. So that's a thorough step up for West Branch to kind of get themselves off the mat, because, like you said, last week they were knocked down a couple pegs by Marlington. And they got to back up off the mat. They beat a quality team in South Range, and maybe they can use that momentum for this week.
Well, Springfield knocking off Cardinal Mooney on Friday night. That was at Scene. I was on Field 2. They were on Field 3 playing that game. And they shut out Mooney on Friday night to go to 7-2. Mooney goes to 4-3. That was a good win for Springfield on Friday night.
Yeah, and once again, we've talked about Springfield a lot, in the show. Their pitching keeps showing up really well. I thought one of the biggest games of their year so far was earning that split with McDonald last week, because they got beat by McDonald in Game 1, and they were able to come back from that the very next day, make the proper adjustments, and make sure they split the season, because that conference might come down to McDonald and Springfield. So to get a split with them and not be chasing them all year, pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was a solid victory last weekend. They get a good victory over a nice Mooney team. The 4-3 record. Forget about that record for a second. Mooney's had some quality wins this year. That's a solid win for Springfield for sure.
One of their other losses, remember, was to Ursuline in a really interesting baseball game.
Yeah, walk fest.
4-1, I believe, was the final score for that last week. But they'll play Ursuline again, right? They got them twice on the schedule, so they'll have another crack at Ursuline. And 4-3 with their schedule, not that bad.
No, definitely not that bad, and certainly a lot of time left before we jump into the tournaments. A lot of time left. How about Boardman's victory over Hoover on? I believe this was on Saturday or Sunday. I think it was it was Friday. I beg your pardon. Boardman knocking off Hoover 1-0 as Gavin Hyde threw a 3-hitter. Boardman scored in the top of the 5th inning. Hoover suffered just their second loss of this season. Boardman 7-4 on the campaign. That Spartan team is starting to play a lot better baseball right now.
And that's a game that could be a springboard. I mean, you said it. Hoover's record was really impressive coming into that game. And they win a really just a stressful, every pitch is magnifying a little bit kind of game, 1-0 pitcher's duel. And when you can make it through that kind of a stressful game, especially your pitching staff, where every pitch is super stressful because it's a one-run game, that's pretty impressive. That's a great win for the Spartans.
Yeah, Garrettsville Garfield, and we don't talk about this team very much because they haven't officially joined, and they will next year, the MVAC gray tier. But they did something that not too many teams have been able to do, and that's knock off a really good Division IV team in the Matthews Mustangs. They beat them 9-6, putting up crooked numbers in the 4th and 5th innings, 7 runs between those 2 innings. And they knock off Matthews 9-6. The G-men must be pretty good because this Matthews team is unbelievably good this year.
But then after that, Waterloo went and beat Garfield 5-1. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Waterloo was like, hey, not so fast,
Yeah,
my friend.
Exactly. So it's we've been saying this, D4 and D3 are going to be all kinds of fun come tournament time. There's going to be a lot of talent in all of the divisions. But specifically in D3 and D4, there is going to be an insane amount of talent when we do the Super Size Me tournaments.
And Waterloo's another team that we talk about for YSN team, part of the YSN family, but outside of YSN, doesn't get a lot of eyes because they're up in Atwater, and even though they're in the MVAC, they're kind of like those ABC schools that because they're outside of the quote unquote coverage area, they don't really get the attention that they maybe should here, but they're a great baseball team, and to beat Garfield 5-1 and try to kind of put a stamp on that and maybe open some eyes a little bit. Waterloo will be heard from come that district tournament. I promise you that.
Oh yeah, and they're Division III, so get in line with the other D3 teams. That's going to be all kinds of fun.
Hey, let's just add another great team to the Division III bracket.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, this going to be an awful lot of fun for sure. It was a fun weekend this weekend in baseball.
We were talking before we went on the air about teams that have the possibility to make a deep tournament run, and it's hard to really decipher Division III because it's so deep, and so many teams have a good chance to get out of the district. So you have to say, well, okay, whoever gets out of that district has a good chance to make a run. But who's going to get out of it? That's the big thing, because it might be one of the toughest districts in the state.
Yeah, and you're only going to get 2 teams out of the district because there's 2 Super Size Me districts. So, your guess is as good as mine who gets out of the district. In Division II, you would assume Canfield is going to be one of those teams that gets out of the districts. One would assume, but there are no guarantees, which makes everything that much more fun come tournament time. All right, let's get to the phone lines. Rich, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on, brother?
Good afternoon, young gentlemen. What a beautiful day in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, enjoy it. The rest of the week,
That's all right. We need the rain. I'm going to put a garden in this year. So
there you go. What are you planting?
Just beefsteak tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, and maybe 2 or 3 varieties of peppers. That's it.
All right.
Oh, yeah, good to go. Anyway, I got a question for you, Ron.
Yeah.
You sent me the roster of the tribe here a while ago.
Yes.
How did Antonetti obtain Plesac and Quantrill? Was that in some of the stuff we had to let go, or what's up? I mean, that was brilliant.
Plesac was out of the draft. That was the same draft that included the other starting pitcher that the Indians have. Oh my goodness! Now I'm starting to do brain farts again.
That's all right.
Oh goodness! And I know the kid's name too. It's not Plesac. It's help me out. The kid that follows Plesac in the Indians rotation.
Not an Indian fan here, struggling. Tristan McKenzie.
No, McKenzie. Well, McKenzie was a draft pick as well. Savali. He and Savali were drafted the same year. Okay. Quantrill was acquired in the Bauer deal, where they did a 3-team deal with San Diego and Cincinnati. He was acquired in the Bauer trade from San Diego.
Is he still able to start, or is he definitely in the bullpen?
Well, he's in the bullpen. Your starting rotation is Bieber. You got Bieber, Plesac, Savali, Allen, McKenzie. Quantrill is long relief out of the bullpen.
I'll tell you what. In Antonetti, I still trust. That was some pretty good stuff.
Oh no! I mean, the pitching is great. The offense is a little, it's a little scary because if this team doesn't homer, they don't score many runs. They can't piece together a series of hits. And they're horrendous with runners in scoring position right now. But unfortunately, they've lost some close games because they're terrible with runners in scoring position.
Couple good things for them though. It's early, and the division is not playing extremely well right now.
Yeah, right.
Overall,
exactly. So, nobody's burying themselves in that division right now. So everyone looks to still be, pretty much where Chicago and Minnesota will be better. Kansas City's off to a pleasant start.
First place.
Indeed. Detroit was off to a decent start. They started falling back a little bit, but I think they got a win yesterday. So, I mean, nobody's buried themselves in the division. So, the Indians are actually in pretty decent shape at 8-7. They probably should be 10-5 right now, but ifs and buts.
Well, the old adage, pitching will dominate in the end, and hopefully with the good health, that'll prevail.
Yeah, they just need to get a little bit better on offense. The pitching staff is fantastic. I think Clase, he is your closer, and the guy throws wicked hard and just nasty pitches. That cutter is lethal when it's moving. That cutter is just absolutely lethal.
Also an Antonetti brainchild. Hey, by the way, congratulations to the young lady from Latonia softball who was Player of the Week this week. Or last week, I should say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They actually had a really, really good weekend.
I was talking about Taryn Ferry, by the way.
Yeah, Taryn Ferry had a great weekend.
He was a multiple sport athlete and a really good student in the classroom as well.
Yeah, 3-sport athlete, and I believe she's going to finish, if not valedictorian, somewhere in the top 5.
So
she and twin brother Marco.
Amazing. I'm not a big female sports fan, but to those who are on the borderline, such as I am, man, fast pitch softball, girls, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. It's an awful lot of fun.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and head down to Mill Creek Park, do a little trail walking today. The Cohasset Trail killed me last week.
Attaboy.
So I'm gonna lighten up a little bit here and try to take it a little easier.
All right,
So have a great day.
How many miles are you looking to do today?
I don't know about miles. I just want to get back to my car.
Sounds good, brother.
Catch you later.
All right, see ya. 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business.
If you're on the fence about softball, find a Division I college team and go watch them play. You'll be hooked forever.
Oh, it's fun.
Because the game at that level is just ridiculously fun to watch, and that's what happened to me. So you go to one Division I college game, and you'll never be the same. You'll be hooked like I am.
Well, you can always talk about the YSU.
And there's one right down the street because YSU is playing phenomenally right now.
Yeah, they swept Oakland,
which was in second place. So,
yeah, they just improved their stock and remained in first place and actually expanded their lead in the Horizon League. The YSU men dropped to fourth place. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is they were able to take 2 out of 4 from Northern Kentucky, and the lesson is
split on the road,
dominate at home. The Penguins needed to win yesterday to get the split, and they did. They blew out. Yeah, they blew out Northern Kentucky, put their foot on the gas pedal, and kept it there. But UIC blew past the Mastodons of Purdue Fort Wayne. And UIC is now a half a game better than Youngstown State. So they're in third place. They are 2 back in the loss column to Milwaukee, who did not play a league game this past weekend. They played ISU, Illinois State University. So they did not play a league game. So they're 12-8. UIC is 13-10. As I found out, over the weekend, UIC and Northern Kentucky only played 3 games in their series. They didn't play 4. So UIC is 13-10. Yep, weather. The Penguins are 13-11. Northern Kentucky is 11-12. So the Penguins are 1 better than Northern Kentucky in the loss column. They're a game and a half ahead of the Norse for 4th place in the Horizon League.
Coming down.
That's tight. That's
coming down.
It's a little too close for comfort. But the good news for the Penguins have a very doable weekend series coming up. They have a very, very doable weekend series coming up because they play last place Oakland. And they'll probably need to take care of business and win all 4.
As long as you don't think like what you just said, then they'll be fine. You know, the media can talk like that, but the players and the coaches got to treat Oakland like they would treat Wright State. You know, they got to go into that game knowing that everyone's dangerous with a bat in their hand, no matter who they are, and take care of business. Because if they slip up against Oakland, then that's going to be something they look back on and go, oh no.
Yeah, exactly.
It's at home, right? So they got.
Yeah, they're at home for this weekend. They got 16 league games left, and then that's it for the regular season. They have 4 against Oakland at Eastwood this weekend. They have 4 against UIC. That's going to be huge, and that's going to be out in Chicago. And the last time YSU played UIC, they took 3 out of 4. You know UIC is going to want to do a little revenge factor. That's next weekend. The following weekend, May 7th, 8th, and 9th, a 4-gamer with the Mastodons of Purdue Fort Wayne. That's going to be at Eastwood Field. Again, Purdue Fort Wayne and Oakland are pretty much buried. They're not going to get into the playoffs. They're way, 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 way behind. So hopefully, between Oakland and Purdue Fort Wayne, the Penguins win at least 6 of those 8 games. I'd love to see 8, but we'll see. And then they close out the season, which I believe is going to have playoff implications, a 4-game series at home against Milwaukee. Perhaps, maybe, Penguins are playing for second place. Or
that's just a tough draw to end your season with Milwaukee because I don't know what Northern Kentucky and UIC end with. But if they're playing like Oakland in the last series of the weekend, and YSU has to keep pace and play Milwaukee. That's just a tough draw.
Actually, I'm glad that you brought this up. Northern Kentucky and UIC play each other,
Well,
and it's
That's
only a
as-
3-game series.
that's as good as it could have gone
Yeah.
for YSU.
and it's only a 3-game series.
Only
so,
three. Why only three?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's weird.
That is weird. You would think that it would have been a 4-game series.
Maybe they want to match the other 3-game series and not have an odd number of games.
I don't know,
between
but Northern Kentucky has to play at Milwaukee the week before, and then they play UIC at home. So their final 7 games are going to be ridiculous. Their final 7 games are going to be crazy.
When you only let 4 teams in, it's going to get tight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's the
Yeah.
nature of it. And
Well,
the good thing from YSU, if they get into the postseason, they'll be playing the last 2 seasons of the regular season like their playoff games anyway. So that playoff atmosphere, we need to win. That's not going to be a dramatic change for the Penguins.
Here's the other interesting part. The only other series for Northern Kentucky, because the weekend, I should say, of April 30th, May 1st, and May 2nd, they're playing at Pittsburgh. So that's a non-conference. There are 3 conference games left at Wright State, at Oakland, at Milwaukee, UIC at home. So, they have a pretty interesting road to hoe, and this is the 5th place team. So Penguins might be able to still get into the to the postseason. They're in 4th place right now. I'm thinking the Penguins are going to be able to have themselves a very interesting ride.
You'd love to be 2 or 3 because then you don't have to play Oakland in the first round.
Yeah.
I mean,
now,
Wright State. Sorry.
Here's UIC's remaining schedule. This weekend they're playing at Milwaukee for 4 games. Then they have YSU at home for 4. Their non-conference game is going to be a 4-gamer at Texas Tech. Oof. That's a tough one. They're going to go back into conference play May 14th, 15th, and 16th, 4-gamer against Purdue Fort Wayne in Fort Wayne, and then they close it out. And it's a 4-game series. It's not a 3-game series. I don't know why these guys continue to do this schedule weird like. The Northern Kentucky schedule says 3. The UIC schedule says 4. So I'm going to go with the UIC schedule. They're going to play a 4-gamer with Northern Kentucky in Highland Heights.
UIC only wants to play 3. We'll just do 3. We'll be fine.
So YSU right now, they're in 4th place, but
A lot of baseball to play.
And they have a really good shot at keeping in the top 4. And all they need to do is beat the teams they're supposed to beat. And just do that, and you should be able to get into the postseason.
Yep.
All right, 330-886-0813.
When we come back, we'll break down the softball scores over the weekend.
Indeed.
And get ready to talk to Dana Balish at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, Dana Balish will be coming up at 1 o'clock. Bob Hannon is going to be talking about a very successful, extremely successful FCS tournament draw for the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
Hey, I was saying
5 teams are in this tournament out of the Missouri Valley Football Conference, which is absurd.
Hannon thought there'd be like maybe 3 if they're lucky, and they got 5, which is like, oh, okay.
South Dakota State wound up beating North Dakota State.
And they won the conference.
Along with Missouri State. So the people that did do the T-shirts, you get a heavy sigh of relief. You are a co-champion. Congratulations. South Dakota State is the 1 seed. They'll play Holy Cross. In the
Holy Cross.
Holy Cross, Batman. The other bracket, the same bracket, Southern Illinois, the Salukis got in. They're going to play Weber State. Delaware is playing Sacred Heart. And Davidson is playing Jacksonville State in the bottom half of the one side of the draw. All right, so here's the other side. James Madison, who's just a really good team year in, year out. They're the 3 seed. They're going to get VMI. So VMI will play James Madison. The winner of that game gets the winner of the Missouri Valley Football Conference game that should have been played earlier in the year. These two teams did not see each other in the regular season. Missouri State plays North Dakota. So there's your playoff game / regular season game. North Dakota State will play Eastern Washington, and Monmouth will play number 2 Sam Houston. There's your draw.
I wonder how many teams are really feeling like they play like the Horizon League. The Missouri Valley Conference had a bunch of games canceled towards the end because of COVID, right?
Yes.
So there were teams that couldn't really play themselves into the playoffs or really play themselves out of the playoffs. But there might be teams that were saying, we played a full season, we deserve to get in the playoffs, but because these teams play in the best conference and couldn't finish, they take our playoff spot. There are probably a couple of teams that are really scratching their heads right now. I mean,
I'm surprised. I'm actually stunned that 5 of the 16 teams in this shortened tournament are in the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
There is so much respect for the Missouri Valley Football Conference, and because of the respect and because of the fact that none of them really played themselves out of the playoffs because of COVID, I guess the selection committee said, well, we can't keep these teams out because technically they did a good enough job, even though, you know, they weren't holding COVID against them, which is okay.
Yeah.
But then you kind of slap the face of the teams that, if there were teams that were, you know, viable that did play a full season then got through it. Like we said, it's not fair that the teams got COVID should have to sit out the playoffs. But what do we do with fair during COVID?
We throw it out. Yep.
So,
I'm just glad that they put Missouri State in, and they really didn't think about their iniquities in the fall.
You couldn't hold the fall against Missouri State with the type of season they had, and I kind of like there was no way they were leaving out North Dakota State. So,
no, win or lose,
with that program,
happen.
the prestige it has, they were like kind of Duke in basketball. Unless they were tank, they're getting in.
Well, they're going to have to play on the road,
right?
Which is interesting. So they were a bottom 8 team in this tournament, which that'll make things pretty interesting.
Their culture makes them dangerous because they just know how to win. They're the winning culture, and they might flip a switch in the playoffs. Who knows?
Yeah, this is going to be entertaining to say the least.
If they didn't win, it would be like the first time in 3 years that North Dakota State didn't win the FCS championship.
It's somewhere in that vicinity. Yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens, but clearly 1 normally plays 16, 8 plays 9, 4 plays 12, and 5 plays 11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so,
with Hannon, we can also just recap the YSU season since it's over.
Absolutely.
They didn't get their last game, unfortunately. It got canceled pretty late in the week, by the way. It got canceled that they couldn't play. So, unfortunately for that, but we can still kind of recap the season and look ahead to the fall.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll talk some softball in a bit. Stick around. More to come.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Bad credit, no problem. I can get you approved for a low-interest loan and maybe even a low-payment lease on a new car at the #1 Chevy dealership in Trumbull County for 3 years in a row. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved or come see me, Tony Page, to get a new vehicle today. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Busy weekend in sports. We have knocked down the YSU baseball and softball teams. Well, not really knocked down the softball team that much. We talked about
them a little
it
bit later because there's a lot to talk about for them too.
Absolutely, but we definitely want to talk some high school softball over the weekend. Some really good games over the weekend as well.
Yeah, and let's say I'm going to start with the games that I was at because those are the ones I can talk about, the most. But Friday night I went to Boardman and it was cold. Very cold Friday night. But Boardman played Champion, and this was the best softball game I had seen to this point. And I said that on Wednesday about the Middle Ridge Mooney game. So this one kind of topped that in the same week. Went 9 innings. Boardman won 4-3. No, Champion won 4-3. It was clean. It was pitched well. It was defended well. The at-bats weren't this, swing and miss, strike 3 at-bats. They were fouling off pitches and really working the at-bats even when they got out. These were two quality softball teams playing at the top level of their game and executing really well. It was really fun to watch. Boardman, fell short in 9 innings, but they trailed by 2 in the 7th and came back and scored 2 to tie it up to send it to extras. So it was very exciting. Champion is a team. They're not going to be the team that we know in the tournament that just sweeps through the tournament. No one can stop them. They're just not that right now. They're not. So let's get that out of the way. But if you don't think that they're going to be a formidable opponent in the tournament, just because you look at the score like Ursuline per se. Ursuline beat them up 13-6. If you look at that score and think, well, this isn't Champion's year, and they're going to be, they're not going to get out of the district. Not so fast, because Cassidy Schaefer threw against Boardman, didn't throw against Ursuline, and when she's on, she brings a lot of energy to that team. She does it with the pitching and the hitting. I think Champion, even though they're not going to be the big feared animal that they were 2 years ago, where they didn't let a run score in the whole tournament, they're not going to be that, but they are going to be someone that is a legitimate contender to get out of that district.
Okay. Supersized district, the talent level that we have in Division III, which Ursuline is part of.
Ursuline, we'll talk about Ursuline because Ursuline just continues to go. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, they whipped Berkshire, and then they beat a really good team. What was it on Sunday? We'll talk about that for a second, but first and foremost, does this victory by Champion now get them into gear, and now let's take off and let's see what happens?
I think it was really good to have that game right after the Ursuline game, because the Ursuline game was kind of like the measuring stick in the district, because Ursuline's playing so well right now, and they're going to have to deal with each other. at some point or avoid each other. And that was one of the measuring sticks. Now, Champion didn't throw, I think Sarah Weaver, gamesmanship, because she didn't throw her number one.
Yeah.
And she kind of knew, probably going to see this team at some point in a really important game. I don't want to show them Cassidy Schaefer. Didn't throw him.
Okay.
And I think that's a good coaching move. And Emma Gumont's a good pitcher, but she's a little bit more of a rise ball pitcher. Keeps the ball up in the strike zone. Ursulin's lineup is powerful. It doesn't match up well. They just knocked her out of the yard.
Okay.
Then they pitched her against Boardman, and you can the difference Cassidy Schaefer brings to that team. I think if they threw Cassidy Schaefer against Ursulin, it would have been a much more competitive game because she matches up better with the powerful lineup. Keeps the ball down in the zone, drop ball, things like that. So Ursulin would be forced to, run out some pitches, get some ball on the dirt. So I think, I think that win right after Ursulin is a big win for them, and we'll see what they do because they still have some big games on their schedule come down the road.
Okay, they're a 500 team right now, at 5 up, 5 down.
You got to remember they've also played.
Oh, I get it.
I mean,
I get it.
This for the people at home. They played Perry, Willoughby South, Ursuline. I mean,
they've played a ridiculous schedule. Where do you see Champion in terms of the pecking order when it comes time to seeding teams top to bottom in Division III? Where would you put them right now?
Right now, I would put them because, if the season ended right now, South Range has a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth because of what they did against Poland last week. And they flat out, they just didn't play well in 2 games.
Yeah.
They didn't play well. And because Champion, they scored 6 runs against an Ursuline team that doesn't give up runs. You look at all their scores, 18-0, 10-0. They're not giving up runs. Champion still scored 6. I would put them as 2. You obviously can't put them ahead of Ursuline, but I would put them right there below, second, just because, 1, they're playing well, and 2, the name. I mean, Champions, they're going to get far because they're Champion.
Okay.
They're going to get the respect because teams that even haven't seen them yet know,
I think right now they're below South Range.
You think?
Yep. I think they're below South Range right now.
I think if the season ended now, just because the perception matters, and the last time, well, not the last time we saw South Range because they played twice over the weekend, but the last time the area saw South Range, they didn't put their best foot forward. So if the season ended right now, I feel like the area would be like, well, South Range wasn't playing too well last week, and Champion got a win over Boardman in extra innings. Maybe we'll put them 2 in South Range.
I can't get past the 500 record. Sorry. I mean, okay, you played some really good teams. South Range went to Myrtle Beach and played some really good teams as well.
That's
so you got to go to number 3. And now, having said that, we follow this whole thing. Ursuline's going to go here. How many people are going to shy away from playing undefeated Ursuline?
A lot of people.
And how many people are going to sit back and go, yeah, you know what? We're gonna take you guys out.
Especially if you have a pitcher that throws velocity and high in the strike zone, you're gonna avoid Ursuline at all costs because that lineup is a college lineup, as close as you're gonna get in high school.
Okay.
It is 1 through 6, especially ridiculous. Hard to pitch to. It's unwieldy. They can all hit home runs. And if you leave a rise ball a little bit fat, it's gone. It's gone.
Okay. It's
no one has shut them down yet offensively. No pitcher that they've faced has figured them out yet.
Yeah. So the scouting report is someone has to throw.
It'd be a drop ball.
Down
in the zone.
Downward trend drop ball or.
Right. I would rather throw that because the powerful lineups. Make the not the strikeout pitchers. You're not gonna. The drop ball pitchers don't strike a lot of people out. So, good defense and down in the zone pitching would be my game plan against Ursuline.
Knee to thigh high, consistently, and bust them in on the inner half of the plate and move around the plate. But you want to keep it low because if you go waist high and above, you're pretty much asking for trouble.
Bree Callow's a great example. She's a rise ball pitcher. We've seen her throw perfect games. She threw against Ursuline, and they beat her 10-0. Because it's just they know They're really disciplined on where to swing at a rise ball. They let the ones that are out of the strike zone go.
Okay.
And they make you throw that rise ball in the zone, and they catch up to it. And, Barbados going to Toledo. Nutter is going to... 1 through 5, almost all of them are going to play college at somewhere.
There you go.
I can't remember all the names where they're going. But yeah,
they're a solid team. That's
1 through 6 is death row, and then they have some speed down there at the bottom to set the table for the top of the lineup. It's tough.
Yeah, they're a solid team.
I really want to see Fitch against Ursuline.
Do they play?
They don't. They're not on the schedule. But
I was going to say that would be fun.
Because I would really like to see Lydia Spalding go up against that lineup because she's a Division I Power 5 pitcher come next year. And then Fitch's lineup is just as potent. And they can hit with the best of them. So it would be interesting to see how Emily Holland pitches to Fitch. That's something that doesn't get talked about because the offense is going so well for Ursuline. Emily Holland's pitching a phenomenal season. She pitches so well. She moves the ball well, both sides of the strike zone, and other teams really haven't been able to figure her out too much. It doesn't. Offense gets talked about a little bit more because it's more flashy when you hit a home run. But don't forget about Emily Holland in the circle doing work for Ursuline.
Okay, so Poland over the weekend, they bombed University, but then they lost to Steubenville.
Right.
And Steubenville is one of those teams that we really haven't heard very much about, but clearly now you would think that they're going to be on the radar of a lot of teams because Steubenville's going to be D2. Poland is D2. It's maybe, just maybe, Poland's road to Akron may have to
go through Steubenville.
Go through Steubenville again. We don't know.
South Range came into this weekend angry. They went up to Stowe. They beat Talmadge, I think 9-3, and they beat Stowe 11-1. So they look to be back in shape.
Yeah, they're back to normal.
We'll see. They got Hubbard tonight. That's going to be a really fun game because Hubbard's that team that is kind of getting themselves in the NE8 conversation. They have 1 loss, so they're ahead of South Range right now. And they want to keep pace with Poland, so when their Poland series comes up, if they get a split, all of a sudden they're tied with Poland.
Absolutely. Crestview knocked off Springfield in a pretty interesting duel.
I was there, too.
Crestview only had 1 hit, and that 1 hit was the 2-run dinger.
It was a bomb by Carson Moore.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of controversy on the hit before her, whether or not it was an error or a hit. The Crestview Game Changer scored it as a hit, and the Springfield Game Changer scored it as an error. So that's the downside of not having an official unbiased score. You don't really. It was 50-50.
Well, the home team is the official score.
When I called it, I was like, it was a tough play, but it should have been made. So I called it an error when it happened on the broadcast.
Yeah.
But it was one of those ones that it wasn't like, oh my gosh, you should have made that play like hands down 10 out of 10 times. It was a tough error for sure. But then Carson Moore made him pay, came up, hit a home run. The only run that Springfield scored was on an obstruction call when Carly Bacon was rounding third base. Kind of got tripped up on. I think she was on first. There was a bunt. They threw to first to get the out. She went to take third, rounded second after they threw to first, and the throw to third went over the third baseman's head. And trying to get the ball got in the way of Bacon. They called obstruction and gave her a run. So it was a little bit of a crazy play to get Springfield a run. They brought the go-ahead run to the plate in the 7th, and it was their best hitter statistically in Maddie Lesnick, and Caden Sutton did a really good job striking her out to end the game.
Yeah, it was a well-pitched game.
Oh, really well-pitched.
Yeah, Sutton wound up punching out 8. She did walk 4 players, right. Which...
She's effectively wild.
Yeah.
She's effectively wild. She's not going to be...
You walk a tightrope when you put free people on base.
When you're a strikeout pitcher, you can put yourself in a couple of jams and rely on your strikeouts to get out of it. And that's what she did. big bounce back for her coming off of a tough game against Brookfield where she gave up 11 hits in the night before.
Yeah. So that was a good win for Crestview. They go to 8-4.
How about LeBray on Friday night, 6-0 over McDonald?
You have my attention.
Right. I mean, Desi Allen threw a phenomenal game, and they did enough offense, six runs on Bree Callow, and then shut down McDonald's offense completely, and that was one of the more impressive scores of the weekend that I saw.
We had the Mahoning County track meet, boys and girls, over the weekend. That's we're going to have to talk about. And by the way, kudos to the folks for dividing the track meet up into the big schools, Division I, the small schools in Division II. It's kind of the right thing to do there, because otherwise you would have some really lopsided scores with the big schools taking all of the events pretty much. So South Range boys, they eke past Springfield to win the Division II. The Fitch boys eke past Boardman by 9.5 points to win Division I. Boardman girls win Division II comfortably over West Branch. Springfield wins Division II girls comfortably over South Range. So congratulations to those track teams, and we'll certainly talk a little bit about that during the course of today's show.
You know what's great? Jackie Grisdale runs track, and she also plays softball.
Yeah. And plays basketball and plays volleyball. And,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
She's got her 20th varsity letter in this spring.
That's crazy.
And it's going to break her mom's record at Poland.
Yeah, that's crazy. Bob Hannon just texted us and said that he will come on board at 2:00 to talk about the FCS playoffs, which will start this Saturday. Should be a good time.
It's going to be a fun playoff for sure. And man, we're still talking football in April. It's weird.
Yeah, go figure. So we got a lot of stuff to get to. We'll talk with Dana Balish coming up in a bit. We will also run through like we said, the boys and girls Mahoning County track meet at Fitch High School. And I love Fitch's all-weather track. It's been the home of the sectionals and districts forever and a day, and I loved going up there and watching the it was back then A track meet, but now D3, D4. They pretty much have their track meet, the first round of the state tournaments in Fitch. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful facility for sure. We're going to take a time out. Dana Balish will be coming up next. We'll get his take on what happened this weekend, including the Indians dropping 2 out of 3 to the Reds. That's all right. They're still 8-7.
They came within danger of getting swept by the Reds.
Well, they should have won Saturday, and I'm still a little disappointed with Mr. Naylor at first base. But he redeemed himself for after committing the error. He and Tito were exchanging texts most of the night because Naylor's just one of those guys that cares so much that Hammy said on yesterday's broadcast that it just bothered him, and he was still visibly shaken on Sunday prior to the game, and everyone was like, dude, it happens. I mean, you commit an error. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
So I'll take 24 of those guys in my lineup, guys that are going to have that much on the line and care that much, even though that was inexcusable. But again, nobody's perfect. They could have won 2 of 3. Unfortunately, they didn't. But you are right. They could have been swept this weekend.
That would have been a dagger to the heart to get swept in Cincinnati.
It would have been tough for sure.
Royals took 3 out of 4.
Indeed, they did. Royals are off to a very good start.
Get that in right before you break.
That very, very good start for Kansas City, and they jump out to a very nice start. No one's buried themselves, thankfully, because very rarely do you get out of that deep 8-game and more hole. You don't get out of that.
The other thing for the whole division is no one's played extremely well either. It's kind of like the Twins
mediocre.
are kind of floating water.
Yeah.
The White Sox are kind of just hanging around.
Yeah. Everyone is kind of treading water except Kansas City. They're the only team that's playing legitimately good baseball.
Four games over 500 for the first time in I think the broadcast yesterday said 3 years, which is absurd. But
hey, take it.
Go for
All right, Dana Balish coming up next. Stick around.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Erin Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. And joining me, as he does every Monday at this time, the sports director for our brethren on the TV side, TV 21 sports director, Dana Balish. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron, yourself?
Cannot complain. All right, so over the weekend, YSU softball and YSU baseball, the softball team sweeping second-place Oakland, expanding their lead in the Horizon League. The YSU baseball team splits a 4-gamer with Northern Kentucky. They're in 4th place, looking to be in pretty decent shape, albeit they still have a lot of work to do, but in pretty decent shape for the Horizon League baseball tournament. Some interesting play for Youngstown State this weekend.
Yeah, the women softball team obviously with the 2 wins on Friday, then being down 6-2 Saturday and coming back to win that one, and then really putting it to Oakland, in the nightcap to take that 4-game series. And Ron, what they're playing for is home field advantage in the tournament. As if the tournament started this weekend, Youngstown State softball would host the tournament, and I remember, in the early 2000s or maybe late 1990s, they hosted out at Canfield and advanced to the postseason tournament. They were, I think, was on a rotating basis at that time. But whenever you could play at home during the tournament, it's a home field advantage. But obviously, it comes down to pitching, timely hitting, and and all that stuff. But good performance by them. You just again hope they're not peaking too soon.
And you tweeted out a couple hours ago that the AP poll for softball is out for the first time this year, and Poland is number 9 in Division II, and Ursuline, we talked about them. Ursuline is just off to such an impressive start, number 1 in Division III. I would expect some more teams might fall into that AP poll as the season goes on.
Well, that's the coaches poll, and that's voted on by coaches around the state. The AP doesn't do a softball poll. So this is the Ohio High School Coaches Association in softball. Ursuline, actually, there was one team, and I can't remember who it was, actually had more first-place votes than they did by one, but they were able to garner some secondary points. And again, it's nice to be there, but you got to prove yourself. Ursuline's undefeated, and bullseye's on their back. They won't play again until tomorrow when they play Mooney. So, I've talked to many coaches over my time, and some say they like the ranking, some say they don't like it, some say they like it, but they don't want their players to see it. And sometimes when you're undefeated, 13, 14, and zip, and your players start reading into that a little bit, it could cause a problem. So I think most coaches would like to say, hey, if I could lose a game, and get back to reality, certainly they would like to do that. But, Ursuline's playing well. They went to Firestone over the weekend and won 2 games there. They're sitting at 12 and zip, and Mike Kernan has them playing very, very well.
Dana, obviously, when the tournaments come around, much like in the fall and in the winter, except for football, the fall sports, the winter sports had the supersized district tournaments. More of the same in the spring. And Anthony and I were talking, boy, baseball is going to be all kinds of fun. Baseball and softball, because there are some terrific programs to our north where most of the teams in the other district are going to be in.
Well, and again, Ron, it's so hard to get a beat on, they're playing a lot of league games and this and that. It's hard to get a read on just how teams are doing and what they're able to do. Certainly, the weather's going to interrupt play, you would think, this week for a couple of days. I know Salem's playing well, and I just think, Canfield and Austintown Fitch will play tonight. They're 2 of the better programs in the area as well. So I think, you got to get some consistency, weather-wise to get these games in and kind of see who rises to the crop. Baseball's a funny game. You could have a losing record, and go to the tournament and really dominate. The champion softball team is below 500 for the first time, who knows when. But they played up. They played everybody who's bigger than them. And, they only got a couple of returning players from 2019. So, you get to tournament time, you got to have the pitching, you got to have the timely hitting. It's everything we talk about. The luck got to be on your side a little bit as well.
Yeah, and the other thing we kind of want to talk about, and I heard Ron ask you about it before we got on the air, is the Missouri Valley Conference got 5 teams in the FCS playoffs. Were you surprised that it was 5? Do you think that was a solid number, or do you think, maybe it could have been one more team?
Well, it's almost a third of the teams in there. And again, I think a lot of teams, I think the one of the prerequisites, you had to have 3 victories or play at least 3 games. There were a bunch of schools that didn't play, so instead of going from 128 teams, you were probably down to maybe 60, who were in contention. You had teams with losing records. So I think the playoff field was really watered down. It's good for the Missouri Valley Conference. North Dakota, has an opening round match against Missouri State. So one of the teams is going to get knocked out. So I think, it's good for the conference, but I also think you have to have an asterisk next to this to say, okay, everybody did not play, everybody did not meet the requirements. The Missouri Valley Conference is said to be the best conference at that level of FCS. So I think to have 5 teams in there, that's a third of the field, and I guess the biggest thing is if they don't win the tournament, if they don't win the championship, I think that would be the most disappointing thing.
Well, South Dakota State is certainly the number 1 seed after they knocked off North Dakota State in the Fargo Dome by 10 points over the weekend. I was surprised the Jackrabbits were able to beat North Dakota State like they did.
Well, Ron, that touchdown came late. It was a lot closer than the 10-point victory. They got a North Dakota State, punted the football back with 5 minutes to go. They were down by 3. South Dakota was at their own 35, and their phenom freshman quarterback ran 65 yards, and then they scored with a minute to go. So it was a lot closer than that. It snapped North Dakota State's 32-game home winning streak. I think the disappointing part for North Dakota was, they just couldn't generate any offense. Now, they're scheduled to get a transfer in from Virginia Tech, so they could be a completely different team in the fall. But again, to have 5 teams in there, I think, it says a lot about the conference, and I think it would be disappointing if a team didn't win the championship.
Dan, let me ask you, and we're going to talk with Bob Hannon about this at 2 o'clock, but I would assume that with the transfer portal as it is right now, and we will be seeing our YSU football team, or at least they'll be preparing for their first game of the season in a few months. I would think that the Penguins are going to be a little busy in the transfer portal in certain positions.
Well, I asked Coach Phillips about that last week, Ron, and basically, it's got to work two ways. It's got to work where that player fits what you're doing, that player wants to come here, and you have a need for that player. And I think, this transfer portal, I think it's a huge mistake. I think it's ruining college athletics. That's my personal opinion. It's a one-time transfer. Not only is it going to affect, and again, Ron, I think FCS football is going to be hurt by this, because keep in mind, before, if you were an FBS player, you could transfer down and play immediately. Well, how many FBS players are not going to transfer down when they could transfer laterally, so to speak, and play without, skipping a season? So I think this is going to hurt FCS football. I think this is something that, we got to look out for. I think it's something we have to pay attention to. And certainly I think it's going to have, effects on YSU and other FCS programs. I mean, look at it this way. Justice Reed came from Florida, Florida, I think, right? When he was here. He transferred down so he could play. Well, Justice Reed could go play anywhere. He went to Virginia Tech to play after leaving here. I don't think we're going to see those types of transfers anymore. Now if someone wants to play closer to home, but I think the number of transfers we're going to see from FBS to FCS is really going to take a hit.
It could still be, I think you're absolutely right. It's definitely going to be a hit. And I think, like you said, the only players that are going to come to YSU are close to family, or players that just want maybe more playing time or a bigger opportunity to make a name for themselves, and they don't feel like they can get it where they're at. I think.
Well, and again, I'll use another example where it benefited YSU, and again, it's not the portal; it's the old system. Take Matt Jones. Matt Jones went to West Virginia. The things he played. New coaching staff came in. Matt Jones transferred back to Youngstown State. Okay, was from Hubbard, played at Hubbard, and so on and so forth. But I think your players, who have no ties to this area are not going to look at Youngstown State, because now, you don't have to sit out that year. And I think, you're going to see FBS players go to FBS schools. I think there's a chance you could see an FCS player go up to an FBS school, but I think the number, again, of FBS players coming down to FCS, I think that number's going to take a drastic hit.
21 Sports Director Dana Ballas joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Staying with high school, Dana, I love this event. The Mahoning County track meet over at Fitch High School, one of the best facilities in the area. And year after year, last year obviously we didn't see it, but in a healthy year after year, this is one of the premier track events, and it's always put on great, just a great show by the folks in Austintown in their great facilities, and this year was a lot of fun.
Well, and again, when you get 16, 17 schools times 2, now the numbers this year were down a little bit, Ron, just because I think they had a minimum number of athletes per event. So I think the number was actually down because of all the protocols that had to be in place. But certainly track and field, if you look at the entire picture, track and field is probably one of the most successful sports we have at the state level as far as athletes getting there. Now, you have, 20-some events, and that sort of thing. But, the Mahoning County meet, the Trumbull County meet that they'll have later this year, are two of the meets that, bring the schools together, and certainly, it's a fun time, and I know the kids enjoy it, I know the coaches enjoyed it, and you just hope those things continue, and I think they will. I mean, I don't know what year this was for the Mahoning County meet, and that's a good thing for track. I think track and field is one of those sports that, again, probably doesn't get the coverage it deserves, but certainly it's one of those areas that produces a lot of great athletes.
All right, before we let you go, Dana, Mandy Bell just tweeted this out. She covers the Indians for MLB.com. Capacity at Progressive Field is going to increase from 30 to 40% in May, and the tickets for all the May home games are going to go on sale to the public beginning Monday, May the 3rd at 10 a.m. Considering the fact the Indians have yet to sell out one home game in a 30% capacity, I'm going to be curious to see if the fans decide to show up when we go to 40% capacity. Team off to an 8-7 start.
Well, and I think, Ron, you got to keep in mind they've only played 5 home games. The weather hasn't been great. I mean, the Yankees are in town this weekend for a 4-game series, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think, again, it's all weather, but I think those games will, have the 11,000 fans. Minnesota comes to town after that, a team that they're contending with and making their first trip into town. Tomorrow the weather's supposed to be okay. Wednesday and Thursday, it's going to be snowing, so you just don't even know if they're going to play. But I think, again, it's fair weather, Ron. I mean, the team is, your baseball diehards are out there to watch it. The families probably aren't heading out just yet because, school is still in session, and I know there's 6:10 starts at home, but I think still, these are school nights. I mean, you want it to be nice out. You don't want your kids out there freezing, and I think we'll see those sellouts. Now, you got to keep in mind, they had one afternoon game. I think when Kansas City was in town, that was a great day. They had a nice crowd there. But I think they'll get those sellouts. I mean, so you're going 11,000 now to what, 17,000?
I believe it'll be somewhere close to 17, yeah.
So, I think those times will come. I mean, again, I think families want nice weather. The Yankees, it's a shame the Yankees are coming into town in April when they should be coming to town in June or July when the weather's nice. But I would be shocked, Now, again, it all depends on the weather, but I would be shocked if they didn't have 11,000 fans there, Saturday's a 6:10 start, Friday night, 7:10 start. But again, we'll see what the weather is.
And speaking of the Indians, Paula Dolan, I saw on your Twitter, was just named for the Cleveland State Board of Trustees at that university as well. So, what do you think about that? And what would his responsibilities be for being a board member at Cleveland State be?
A board of trustee is basically, you're on the board of trustees. Everything has to come through you to be approved at your meetings and so on and so forth. Paul's a philanthropist. I think that's a great addition.
Dana, always a pleasure, sir.
Thanks, guys.
You got it. 21 Sports Director Dana Ballish checking in on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. All right, so 40% of the Progressive Field capacity is 35,041. So 35,041 is 3504.1 times 4. 14,016.4 fans. So 14,016 is going to be your...
Well, that 0.4 of a fan.
So does that mean that you have to bring in...
You have to bring in your cousin with no legs, and it'll be your half.
Cousin it. Yeah. Well, who passed away over the weekend, by the way. So, I go... in honor of Cousin It from the Addams Family. 14,016 is there's your pop culture reference. 14,016 is 40% of the capacity at
I think
Progressive Field.
Dane is right. The numbers will go up. Numbers will go up a little bit when the weather gets better, and they have the Yankees in, the Twins in, and the numbers are bound to go up in the summer because that's when kids are off school and you can take your kids to a game on a weekday. No one's going to take their kids to a game on a Tuesday night.
Well, if it starts at 6:10.
But how many games start? Usually they're 7:10 starts.
No, the school night they're at 6:10. On school nights they're at 6:10 till school's out. So if the game is over at 8:30, let's say you're traveling an hour and change, you're probably home a little after 10 o'clock. Which, I wouldn't do it all the time. And again, we've always talked about the price of the ticket as well. But yeah, it's a 6:10 start during school when the team or when the school is in session. They're at 6:10, which drives a lot of people crazy because the 6:10 is a weird start for a baseball game. But the Indians are trying to accommodate the family as much as possible. So, but that's they start the games at 6:10 until school is out. Then they'll go to 7:10.
I never realized that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which is just adds more fuel to the argument that the Indians don't really draw all that well, and again, it'll be interesting to see if they can get past 11,000 when the Yankees come to town this weekend.
And you and Dana talked a little bit about YSU softball. I just want to bring up that former Cardinal Mooney, Carcetto Rinaldi, is their catcher. They do not have a pitching coach because when the drawbacks had to happen because of COVID, one of the victims of that was YSU softball's pitching coach. So Rinaldi is doing something that not a lot of catchers, especially at that like mid-major college level, do, which is call the complete game herself.
Good.
My
Good
gosh,
for her.
Can you see the difference? In one of the first games of the year, I watched them play, and Coach Campbell, we love Coach Campbell. This is not a knock on Coach Campbell. He was calling the pitches. And I believe it was Sophie Howell, who's a former champion Golden Flash, was pitching. She gave up like 5 runs in 2 innings. And then all of a sudden, he let Rinaldi start to call the pitches. And then it looked like Sophie Howell was a completely different pitcher. It's just phenomenal to see. She's doing a lot of things to go outside of the box score as a catcher. She calls the games even when she's not in catching. Like if they put someone else in to catch, sometimes they do to give her a break. She's in the dugout calling the pitches. Just wonderful to see that from a former Mooney grad that we covered here at YSN. And I want to make sure that that's noticed because it doesn't show up in the box score.
I'm not a fan of people calling pitches from the dugout. I'm just not. And that's a pet peeve that I've always had. Even when Major League Baseball, some catchers won't call the game, and I just look at this and go, wait a second, you guys are over in the dugout. You don't even have a good angle of what's going on. Why don't you let your catcher take care of this? Now on the high school level, when I'm umpiring on the high school level, I'm hearing 503.
Right.
And I'm just like, yeah, okay, 503. Let's see what 503 is. 246. Okay. I want to yell, bingo.
Sometimes they throw in an extra number that's a trick number. So they'll be like 3321, and one of those numbers doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Just to throw people off.
Yeah.
So,
I want to yell bingo when people do stuff like that, but obviously you have to mind your P's and Q's when you're upping.
In high school, especially, you have to have a really committed catcher that's high quality to call the pitches.
Sure.
You don't see it a lot in high school. You see in softball, you see it a lot in the Power 5 elite softball level where these catchers have been catching for years and then they kind of understand what they're doing. In the mid-major, you really don't see it too often. Division II, not that often. So to see Rinaldi be able to do that and to be able to do it with to be able to run that staff, everything that the staff has done to succeed, she has a part in. And it's just I just wanted to make sure that gets noticed because it goes, like I said, it goes beyond the box score. It's one of those
absolutely.
One of those things that doesn't get talked about unless someone brings it up. So wanted to bring it up because she's a former Mooney grad, and we covered her at YSN, so I wanted to make sure it got brought up.
Yeah, no, it's something that is a dying art because, again, a lot of managers, a lot of coaches will take that responsibility. So you don't see very many catchers call their own pitches. So it's I think it's refreshing to see anyone call the game from behind the plate instead of having a manager or a coach yell out numbers and then you have to look on your cheat sheet on your wrist and it just I like a catcher that calls their own game, knows what this kid is bringing to the table. Oh, you got a great fastball. You know what? I'm not going to call a slider on a 1-2 pitch. This kid's got a fastball that's blowing past everybody, so I'm just going to put the number 1 down.
You also have to know the batters and what their tendencies are, and then you have to realize how the field is playing, and there's a lot that goes into it that people just don't understand.
Yeah,
it's a catcher's game. So.
No, it's one of the reasons why catchers make the best managers,
right? Because
they're already a lot is on their plate.
One of the first seasons I called baseball games, I said this. I said the catcher is like the offensive lineman in football because they're only noticed when they don't do their job. Like you only notice the catcher when they make an error or whatever. They don't get noticed in the box score if they're executing right.
If a ball goes through the 5-hole and a run scores from third base on a pass ball, everyone's gonna oh God, this guy sucks, right. or this girl's not doing very well.
But when they're calling a game and it goes well, no one says, "Oh man, the catcher did a really good job." It's all, "Oh man, that pitcher pitched a really good game."
Yeah.
Well, who called the game?
Yeah. Right. Was it the coach that called the game, or was it the catcher that called the game?
Catchers are the unsung heroes of baseball and softball, kind of like the offensive line. If they're not doing their job, then you notice. But if they're doing the job, it's just like a football game. Oh, this is going good.
Yeah, one of my favorite phrases for a catcher, with a runner on base, you got to be a wall. The catcher's got to be a wall. Just like an offensive line, you got to be a wall. You got to make sure that ball, i.e. the defensive line, isn't getting past you. You got to make sure that ball is going to be in your glove at all times, and if someone tries to steal a base, you're throwing them out. I'm with you on that. Catcher is the kind of like the offensive lineman in football, and I will contend, and I know it's unpopular, but I will contend. A lot of people say that quarterback is the most important position in all of sports, to which I say, hell no, it isn't. The pitcher is, because the pitcher has the ball all the damn time. And it's not like he's handing the ball to a running back. The pitcher controls the game. If they're on, you can't beat a really good pitcher. It's just when a really good pitcher is on, really good pitching always beats really good hitting. Always. Not sometimes, not half the time. It always beats really good hitting.
Even really good hitting gets beat by pitching 7 out of 10 times.
Exactly. Exactly. So it just, to me, I think the pitcher is the most important position. And it's kind of the goalie is probably the most important position in hockey because you got to have a solid goalie. Otherwise, you're going to be scoring goals out the wazoo and you're going to lose every single game.
Point guard in basketball.
Although when it was a big man's game, it was the center. Now it's the point guard because the point guard, everything goes through. The offense goes through the point guard. Pitcher in baseball, quarterback in football. But they're 4 completely different games, and it's fun. It's an awful lot of fun. All right, 330-886-0813. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business. We'll take a time out. We're going to dive into this Mahoning County track meet because there were some really interesting events that took place, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Stick around. It is a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Jimmy Sudman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. I'll second what the Purple Cats guy had to say. Super Dave and Scotty. Yeah, Super Dave and Scotty are our guys.
Yeah.
They come here Wednesdays usually. And they're all bebopping around here, having a good old time.
They have a blog that goes up once a week called The Goal Line, and you gotta read that. And 60 Seconds with Scotty is real fun to watch. So they contribute really well to our website. So if you haven't, go on to ysnlive.com and check out some of the content that those two guys are pumping out.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Scotty is a huge Cleveland sports fan.
He's a huge Baker Mayfield fan.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yeah.
He's all Baker all the time.
Yes, he is.
Baker's dozen.
Yes, he is.
You know, what I love about Scotty is he's got like the no filter kind of sense of humor. Like,
yeah, he
he'll
does.
Just say it. He'll say it.
He'll say it. Yeah, he definitely says it.
Oh, he says it.
You and I were talking a little bit off the air, completely off topic of local stuff. It's Patriots Day in Boston, and this weekend, Nike, which I'm not a big fan of their company anyway, they put a uniform out, the Patriots Day edition of the Boston Red Sox uniforms, which look hideous as hell. They look like they're the UCLA Bruins.
Here's the thing. I think they look good. The caveat is they're the Boston Red Sox, and they're wearing blue and gold. So it doesn't, like, if that was a blue and gold team uniform, the uniform looks really cool. It just doesn't. I mean, like the Red Sox. What are we doing here? You know.
Yeah.
I've always loved the color scheme of UCLA, like the almost lightning blue with yellow.
Yeah, but it
goes pretty well. It just because, and I get what they're doing because it's Patriots Day, so they're trying to throw the homage to the people that served and everything like that. So the color, for the blue and gold, but it's one day. And you know what it is, though?
No, it's money.
They can sell it. They can sell that,
Yeah.
and you got to get it because it's different, so you get it.
Yeah.
Just like the St. Patty's Day gear they throw out on spring training, every team wears green. There's a reason for that, so people go buy the green jerseys.
Yeah.
You know, the July 4th hats that are different.
Yeah.
So they can sell July 4th hats. It's marketing.
I mean, I personally don't buy any of that stuff
You don't.
because it's not the colors of the
Go
team.
buy the stuff, Ron.
I mean,
Get in the marketing. Let's go.
But it's not the colors of the team. I'm just like, okay, this was worn on Patriots Day in 2021. No, it's not the Red Sox colors, but it
It's
looks
one of
kind
those
of cool.
limited edition type things.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
get it.
I mean,
Anyway, the Red Sox are beating the White Sox, which is good news for the Royals and the Indians. White Sox are getting hammered 10-3 in the bottom of the sixth
and they'll
inning.
be getting hammered after the game too with the way they're playing.
Oh boy, they are 8 up, 8 down in the Central Division. Minnesota's 6-8.
They're struggling.
Detroit's lost 4 in a row. They did get beat by the A's over the weekend. They get swept actually. 6-10 for the Tigers, and Kansas City's the only team above 600. They're playing 643 ball on a 2-game winning streak. Run differential of +3, which is weird. 14
They've won
games.
some close ones.
Yeah, they've been blown out of a lot of games, but they've won 9 of their 14 games, so they have a game and a half lead.
Walked off on Saturday in the bottom of the 7th because it was a doubleheader.
Yeah.
Salvador Perez hit a walk-off home run.
Yeah, these the bottom of the 7th. Now we're going to play 7-inning doubleheader games. It's these rules are going to have to you're going to have to get used to them.
And then they got the Rays for 3 tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday. So
Yep.
Rays are pretty good. We'll see.
Indians are off. They get Chicago in Cleveland tomorrow.
Chi-town.
They get the White Sox tomorrow and Wednesday, and then the Yankees.
Man,
come
they're
in
playing
for
a
4.
lot of division games to open the season.
Yeah, I'm going to say the next.
Before the Red Series, I feel like the Indians' schedule was completely division games.
I'm going to say the next from now to May 6th, you're talking about 2 against the White Sox, 4 against the Yankees, 3 against the Twins, all at home. They'll go to Chicago for 3. They'll go to Kansas City for 4. So other than the 4-game series with the Yankees, 2, 5, 8, 12 games are going to be divisional games.
Right, they're just stacking the division all in early.
Yeah, so this is...
which means they're going to have a month in there somewhere where it's going to be the prime month to make a move because they'll be playing a lot of non-divisional games where they'll be able to play these teams, and the other division teams will probably be playing in the interdivision, beating each other up. So that'll be good for the Indians at least. They'll have a month in there, probably May or June.
The month that we're talking about, and I'm looking at the schedule right now, is July 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, prior to the All-Star break. They'll have Kansas City at home. And then after the All-Star game, they'll have non-divisional opponents until July 30th. The 30th, the 31st, and August the 1st, they'll be in Chicago to take on the White Sox. So in July, you're looking at 4, 7, 11, 14, 17, 21, 23, 25 games in the month of July. 19 of those 25 games are going to be against non-divisional opponents. So there's your month.
Yep, that'll be a big month for the Indians for sure.
Yeah, that's they're loading up the division early on, and divisional games are huge. They just are, and you gotta win your divisional games. And right now, take out the losing 2 out of 3 to Cincinnati. The rest of the games have been divisional games. So you're looking at 7-5 for the Indians in their division right now. Not bad. Not too shabby. Dana brought up the fact that we're so good in track and field, and historically we have been really, really good in track and field. And I was looking at the Mahoning County meet was over in Austintown. I want to keep an eye on Nate Leskovec from Austintown Fitch. He went 6'6" in the high jump. That's a pretty nice number.
Yeah.
That number might get you to Columbus. That's a pretty solid number, and I would imagine when the weather gets a little bit better, maybe we can go 6'7", 6'8". That number should be able to get him to Columbus.
And then you wonder, hey, why is he able to go up and get balls as a receiver in football season? Well, because he has a 6'8" high jump, or 6'6", and maybe 6'8" if the weather gets warmer.
Yeah, that's not too shabby.
That's not bad.
Not too shabby.
There have been programs that have been historically great in track and field. South Range, McDonald, Crestview, in the area. So we have a lot of really good runners and athletes on the track and field scene in this area.
You don't talk about pole vaulting very often, but Ted Enzavino went 13.5 feet with pole vaulting.
I watched that and I just go, how does that happen? Like, it doesn't look. It's one of those things that doesn't look like it should be physically possible.
Yeah.
But it's.
Well, I mean, you got to really bust it.
You're sticking a pole in the ground.
With that pole, you got to really, really run hard and fast in order for this to work. And then you got a fat slob like me who picture this.
You break the pole.
You'd run, put the pole in, bends, and you fall on the pavement. This is why big folks do not do pole vaulting. Doesn't happen. You gotta have the smaller guys do the pole vaulting, because if the big guys do the pole vaulting, the pole snaps in half.
I just pictured that in my head and got the funniest image in my head of running up with the pole vault and then
it just breaks in half. It just that's not going to happen.
Can we do that? Can we have a nose pole vault thing?
No, we will not do that. No way in hell I would do something like that. That's the high jump was even tough to do, and that was.
Oh no! There's no high jump.
No, it would be a low jump.
It's like maybe a Monday paper jump.
Yeah, it would be a low jump. That's no good, no bueno. What do we got? A 23.07 Alvarico in the 220 or the 200 meter.
I think I could do a pretty good long jump. You just put a stick in the point. I roll up to it as fast as I can, take my seatbelt off, and the wheelchair hits, and we'll see how far I go. Pretty good long jump, if you ask me.
There's a reason why the words and the views are not necessarily those of the Oakley Scout organization. We do not recommend this for anyone that is wheelchair bound. Please don't try what Anthony is asking or saying that he might want to do.
Perfect form.
Just because you have an Akron Racers jersey on doesn't make you Superman. That's no. Yeah, no.
How do you know, Bob? This could
no.
be a very awesome disguise.
Could
no
be.
one would suspect the cerebral palsy kid to be last son of Krypton.
Oh, well, that is very true. That is very true. I'm looking to see who won the 100 in the county meet, and for whatever reason, I'm not seeing. Oh, here it is, 11.5. 11.5 doesn't sound very fast. That's normally you see. Yeah, normally you see for the state you see sub 11. And again, it's cold day. If it's really, really cold, you're not gonna run very well.
The world record is 9.5.
Yes.
Ish.
Yeah.
By Usain Bolt.
Yeah. And then he did a 200 in under 20, which is absurd.
He gave up the final third of that 100, by the way, because he knew he won it, and he was running like this.
Yeah.
So imagine if he booked it the whole time, what that world record would be.
I don't even want to think about that. That's just crazy. Who was it? Andrew Frank from Hubbard long jump, 21 feet and 1 inch, that's pretty solid.
I wonder how many NFL teams saw that and said, "Can Usain Bolt catch?" Because he's got a pretty good frame.
Well,
he's like 6'5", built.
There
were probably a lot of NFL teams that were like, "Hey, can you catch a ball?"
Well, look what the 49ers did with Ronaldo Nehemiah.
Right.
I mean, Nehemiah was a world-class hurdler, and the 49ers said, "Man, you get some pretty good speed. Can you catch a football?" And they worked him out, and he could catch a football.
You can. Oh, good.
So
Can
he's
you
like,
take a
"Okay,
hit?"
well, yeah, here's your uniform." Way back in the day.
Can you take a hit? All right, we're good.
Way back in the day, in the 1968 Summer Olympics in Mexico City, Bob Hayes ran the 100-yard dash, which I believe it was still 100 yards and not meters. But Bob Hayes, the Dallas Cowboys looked at him and said, this guy's pretty quick. We want to try to get him to be a wide receiver. Can you catch a ball? Sure enough, he could catch a ball. Hey, Bob Hayes, here's a Cowboys uniform. Go out there and run fly patterns, and let's see how many people can guard you. Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
I did the math because Usain Bolt did the 100 meters in 9.56, whatever, 5.6. So if you broke that down into 100 yards, and meters is a little bit, so 100 yards is a little bit less than 100 meters. Can you imagine a guy that could go that fast, goal line to goal line?
Oof.
That'd just be chucking as hard as you can.
I would love to know.
I'm going to outrun everybody to the ball. I'll catch it.
I'd love to know what his 40 time would be. I mean, are we talking four flat in a 40?
You'd have to. Well, that'd be math to figure out like what.
I mean that. So I think the record for the underwear Olympics, aka the combine, is 4.18, 4.19, something like that. No, Usain Bolt would be. Yeah, he would be close to 4. That's insane.
If his, I mean, like. Fast 100 does not mean the first 40 is extremely fast.
No, I get it.
So, I mean, he might not be someone that can accelerate that fast at that,
Yeah.
So, someone like, some of these receivers might be able to beat him in a 40, but he's outrunning them by the time they get to 50, 60, 70 yards. That's what would make him such a weapon because, you have someone like Josh Allen just chucks the ball as far as he can. And Usain Bolt's going to beat the cornerback 60 yards because by the time they get to 40, he's going to be 5 steps ahead of him.
Yeah. So here's the play. I'm going to go 3 steps back, chuck it as far as I can, and Usain Bolt, you just run under it and make the catch. But we'll do this on 1. Ready? Break.
Because no one's catching you.
3 steps. And here's Usain flying down the football field. Said, I got it. Yep.
And that's why they invented safeties in the football.
Oh, God. I don't even know. The safety, I mean, okay, you get an angle, but jeebers, you better be playing him deep. Oh, my goodness. But again, I mean, obviously, I would imagine teams probably looked at him and said, hey, can you catch a football? And the thoughts probably crossed the mind of a few teams.
You have
just
to
saying.
imagine.
You got to believe that that's the case. All right, speaking of football, over the weekend, the Browns letting go Sheldon Richardson. Now, on the surface, this is kind of a borderline questionable call, but it saves them some money. And as we later found out, Richardson may be coming back to Cleveland, albeit on a smaller sized contract. Now, having said that, there is word out of Cincinnati that the Bengals would be interested in picking up Mr. Richardson and having him next to another former Brown in Ogunjobi, and have those two guys
Ogunjobi,
have those two guys clog up the middle. Have you seen the Bengals new uniforms?
Yeah, the whites.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna wear them like once maybe, but yeah, the snow tigers, snow Bengals.
Yeah,
wear that in a blizzard. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting.
Not for the broadcasters, but for everyone else.
No, definitely not. By the way, the draft is 1 week from Thursday.
I'm kind of a sucker for white, like the look of it. Not trying to broadcast it, of course, but the look of like white numbers, black outline on a white jersey. The clean look. I'm kind of a sucker for it. But it's not the colors, so it's stupid.
Well, here's the thing: you better not be wearing that in a mosh pit.
Well, that would. Oh, I thought you said okay.
In a mud bowl. No, thank you.
No, a mud bowl. Like if you're gonna play a muddy game, the best mud games are when you're wearing white uniforms, because then everything shows and you're dirty and That's what mud games are all about.
Yeah, except for the fact if you're broadcasting the game, it's a nightmare.
I
mean,
you can figure it out.
It's an absolute nightmare to broadcast a game where you're like,
someone just ran the ball.
Someone just ran the ball. So and he got a couple of yards.
You always know who the quarterback is. You're fine there.
Yeah, well, unless your offensive line's not doing their job, then he's got a muddy uniform. But then
yeah, but he's always going to be the guy that drops back. That's the
yeah. And you would assume after about 20 carries, you pretty much know who the starting running back is.
Unless the team really wants to mess with you, because they don't like you as a broadcaster, so they're just be like, "Hey, go be quarterback for a play," and we'll just really mess with the broadcaster.
We're gonna take your.
We're gonna mess with Ron real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna take the starting quarterback's shirt off and put the backup quarterback's shirt on. Okay, go on out there.
Go on out there. You're fine.
And this isn't the backup quarterback.
Man.
He's left-handed.
I'll tell you, Joe Burrow looks off today.
Well, that's not Joe Burrow. Burrow's right-handed. This guy's left-handed.
Wait a minute.
What the heck's going on here? Oh, Lord. 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. Okay, so next Thursday, do we have a contest with the top 10 again?
Sure, let's do it. Not like this, but next Thursday.
Yeah, next Thursday.
Right.
I mean, it's next Thursday.
Because some people...
Day before the day of the draft, top 10 picks.
When I say this is just... Wait, we're going off a tangent. I say this Thursday for this Thursday and next Thursday for next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Some people in my family think that next Thursday means the next Thursday that falls. So they'll say next Thursday... And they mean 2 days from now.
Who are these people?
Because they say, well, that's the next Thursday on the calendar, so that's next Thursday. And I'm like, this isn't right.
That's not what next Thursday means.
That's this Thursday.
Yeah. Next Thursday means not this coming Thursday, the next Thursday.
So I just had to make sure you weren't one of those weird people.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Next Thursday, not this coming Thursday, next Thursday, which would be the 29th?
29th, you're right.
Yeah, because the 29th is when the NFL draft is. So top 10, barring any trades, will go, or unless you want to spice things up and say, hey, I'm predicting a trade here, and then we'll have a little bit of fun.
We'll just go straight up like last year.
All right, straight up like last year. I think the first two were pretty easy. The third one might be a little difficult. Depends on how... who you're listening to, and then we get to Atlanta for number 4, which will be entertaining in and of itself as well.
And then we'll do what we did last year and say, if the trade happens and the team picks a player we picked, it still counts as getting it right. So like if we said the Falcons picked, such and such, someone trades for them and picks such and such, then we still get that point.
Do we? Okay, and let me ask you, because I'm going to be curious about this. Fields from Florida, the tight end, the all-world guy that I believe is probably the best guy in this draft. If Atlanta goes trading, does someone trade up to get him, or are they trading up to get the other quarterback that isn't chosen?
That's what makes it fun, because it just depends who trades and why they're trading. Because some people might trade up to get the tight end because they need a tight end. Some people might say, we need a quarterback. We can't take a chance that fourth one doesn't fall. We better go get him right now.
Yeah. I'll be curious because I'm hearing whispers.
So see
New
that's
England
why
is talking about moving up to number 4 and getting whoever's left.
That's why if you're gutsy, you would say Atlanta takes the fourth quarterback, thinking that someone's going to trade up and get that fourth quarterback.
I see what you're thinking. You might be doing a smoke screen and then putting a little image into my head saying, oh, I might be onto something.
I just inceptioned Ron Podesta. I went in and gave him an idea in his dreams.
Yeah, you just gave me a smoke screen is what you gave me, mister.
Call me Leo DiCaprio.
We're going to take a time out. Bob Hannon is coming up next. Missouri Valley Football Conference. Yikes. 5 teams in the 16-team tournament. It's crazy. We'll talk with Bob Hannon about that. And the fact that this new rule that the NCAA passed last week, FBS teams Kids that leave an FBS program can go to another FBS program and not sit out a year. This is the Mulligan rule, if you will. And how is that going to hurt the FCS?
Are there stipulations like you can only do that after 1 year in college, or you can do that?
You can only do this once.
Yeah, but I mean, like, can you only do it after your first year, or is it like you can transfer it any time?
You can transfer it any time, just one time.
Because I thought, when I read that first, I thought, well, this would make sense if you said, okay, after 1 year, you're there, it's not a fit, you can leave without. But if you're leaving your junior year and you're not going to be penalized, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a. I understand the rule, I just don't agree with it. Because I'm with Dana. I think this hurts the FCS programs because
but no one cares about that.
Well, of course not.
Because where's the money?
Because the money's not in the FCS programs. The money's up top. You're absolutely right. That's why this rule is in effect.
The NCAA would take a dump on the FCS if it made them money. Let's just be honest.
That's true. I can't argue with that. We'll take a timeout, be back with more. Stick around. It is a Monday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
Your first and last stop with your tax return should be with me, Tracy Bryden at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. No other dealer sells more cars, finances more, and gets you more for your refund than Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit wrswealthadvisors.com. Good luck, athletes.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset.
Your first and last stop with your tax return should be with me, Tracy Bryden at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. No other dealer goes the extra mile to bring you the largest selection of vehicles at one convenient location. With guaranteed credit approval, I will find you the right vehicle and the right financing options for you. I am ready to go the extra mile to show you why no other dealer sells more cars, finances more, and gets you more for your refund than Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. And we are joined, as we always are during, quote, football season, which is weird that we're still talking football. But the FCS playoffs were announced yesterday, and Bob Hannon joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. And Bob, we speculated the last couple of weeks how many teams would get into the 16-team playoff. As it turns out, the Missouri Valley Football Conference is loved by everyone. 5 teams in the playoffs. How shocked were you to see 5 of our clubs make the playoffs?
Boy, I didn't see that coming at all. I didn't see Southern Illinois getting in. There were some scores on Saturday of teams that were on the bubble. It seemed like everyone that needed to lose lost to help Missouri State get in. So wasn't that surprised to see Missouri State, but I watched the show on ESPNU, and Southern Illinois came up rather early in the broadcast before Missouri State, and I'm like, there's no way they could take Southern Illinois over Missouri State, could they? And to see 5 out of 16, and I think the most of any other conference is 2, surprising. But to Southern Illinois' credit, they scrambled late to play a game on Saturday against Southeast Louisiana, who's ranked, and beat them 55-48. I think when you look at Southern Illinois beating North Dakota State and then winning yesterday, and they had a game in the fall that they won against another ranked opponent, I guess they felt, the committee, that 3 wins over ranked teams by Southern Illinois was enough to get them in.
You know, Bob, I'm looking at the matchups. South Dakota State gets the number 1 seed. They'll take on Holy Cross. Southern Illinois and Weber State will play each other, with the winner playing, in all likelihood, South Dakota State. And then the bottom half of that one side of the bracket, Delaware plays Sacred Heart. Davidson will be playing Jacksonville State, the 4 seed. Is it I don't want to say a gimme, but is South Dakota State the heavy favorite given all of the teams that are on that side of the bracket?
Ron, I think South Dakota State's in great shape to get to the championship. I can't see anybody beating it. It would be a big upset. They're going to play every game at home to the title game. Obviously, they're playing good football after their win over North Dakota State 27-17. Freshman quarterback looked great Saturday at North Dakota State. They've got a running game. They've got a really good defense. They're well coached. They are sitting in good shape. The other side of the bracket, I think, is much more difficult. And for the first time in a long time, the championship won't go through Fargo. Now, they'll get a first-round game at home, but then they'll have to go to the road. But in South Dakota State, this should be the year they get to the championship. They've made it to the semis. I don't believe in FCS they've ever gotten to the title game. In fact, I know they haven't. So this should be the year. And what's scary, Ron, is they're young. They have a freshman quarterback, true freshman, so they're going to be good for a lot of years to come.
Yeah, and when you talk about 5 teams getting in, do you think that I think one of the factors was, of course, that not every team in the FCS played a season, so you're less teams available already. But then COVID hit the Missouri Valley Conference hard down the stretch, and maybe the committee was thinking that no one in the Missouri Valley Conference played themselves out of a playoff spot because they couldn't play because of COVID. So they didn't really hold that against them. Do you think it would have been less if those games would have been played, and obviously more losses would have been knocked to some of those teams? So maybe for the Missouri Valley Conference, COVID actually worked in their favor.
Anthony, it might have. One area where Montana was 3-0 probably would have, in a regular, if they'd have played all 8, they probably would have got to 5 or 6 and got in. So there might have been some other teams, because I think I heard correctly, the last 2 teams to get in were Missouri State and Southern Illinois. So if there were some other schools, you had to play at least 4 that could have got to 4-0 or 5-0 or 4-1. That might have knocked out Missouri State or Southern Illinois. So it absolutely played to the conference's favor. I also think what helped is the recent success of the conference in the playoffs. The conference always does well. You look at the recent championships. North Dakota State's won 8 of 9. Several years ago, they played Illinois State in the championship game. So there's a history of success. But you're right. The fact that some teams couldn't get to 4 helped. Southern Illinois really became creative. You got to give them credit. They were sitting at 4-3, looked like they were done. They found a way to get a ranked team to come to their place to play, and they beat them on Saturday 55-48, and that was enough to get them in.
Bob, as we look on the other side of the bracket, James Madison, who, COVID really hit this program hard. They weren't able to play very many games. They'll open up their first round at home against VMI. A game that I think is going to be fascinating is a game that we didn't even get an opportunity to see in the regular season. Missouri State plays North Dakota. So these 2 teams will finally meet in a game, albeit in the first round of the FCS playoffs. And, more fuel for the fire for Missouri State and their coach to be the coach of the year, leading this team into the 16-team playoff. That surprised me a great deal.
Yeah, now you have a matchup of a team in your own conference, so we'll have one of those teams advancing on to the second round. That should be a really good game. I think, you've got 2 programs that not much was expected. North Dakota was picked 7th in the preseason in the Missouri Valley Conference, and Missouri State was picked last. So you have 2 teams that nobody expected to be playing this late in the season. North Dakota hasn't played a game in about a month. Their last game was the week before the postponement. We were supposed to play them several weeks ago. So they'll either be fresh or they'll be rusty. And Missouri State, you got to give a lot of credit there to what they've done to go 5-1 in the Missouri Valley. That'll be a good game. I also think, Ron, in the lower part of that bracket, I think North Dakota State will handle Eastern Washington. And then if they do, they'll go on the road to play number 2 Sam Houston State. And Sam Houston State has to be thinking, what do we get to deserve this in round 2? I think North Dakota State will get to their final part of their bracket. I think they'll come to an end when they play James Madison. They've just been plagued by poor quarterback play. They started with Zeb Nolan, high expectations, transfer from Iowa State. In fact, he was benched on Saturday early, and they went to a true freshman quarterback, North Dakota State. So I think that the quarterback issues will catch up to North Dakota State. But to your initial question, you've got 2 teams that Missouri State and North Dakota really have to be happy to still be playing football.
Last week, the NCAA came out with the new transfer rule where, FBS kids can go to another FBS school and not have to sit a year. How do you think this will affect not just Youngstown State, but all the FCS schools? And what do you think of that rule and what it means for the NCAA?
It's a tough one. I don't think it helps FCS programs. I don't think it'll help, Youngstown State. I know that I think it's a one-and-done transfer. You can go right away and play. I think you'll just see rosters look a lot different. I think Youngstown State's roster in the fall will look a lot different than it does now. I think that you'll see kids leaving Youngstown. I think you'll be seeing new faces come into the program. I know that D. Ford, a backup cornerback, last week already went into the portal. We had 5 or 6 kids go in either before the season or during the season. So I don't think it's the best thing for FCS. I'd imagine the feeling is coaches can leave whenever they want to leave. So maybe now you give players an opportunity, that one opportunity to go somewhere else and not have to sit out a year. I just think, Anthony, it's going to turn over rosters quickly. Doug Phillips told me last week that he will go heavy into the portal, but he hopes this will be the last year that he does that. And then from here on in, for the most part, he'll be building a program with 4- and 5-year players. You get them as freshmen, You get maybe right shirt. You get them stronger. They become part of your program. They're part of the fabric of what you're trying to do. And philosophically, he likes to go that way better. But as long as this is here, you need to take advantage of it. I also asked Coach Anthony if you could go find a big-time quarterback to play right away. He said, absolutely. He goes, this isn't about hurting anybody's feelings. This isn't about, do we try to coddle anybody? We need to get better, and we need to get better quickly. And if we can find someone from an FBS program that can come in and compete and battle for a starting job at quarterback, we're going to go get them.
And it's not one of those situations where you want to be overly critical of any part of the team. But, Bob, let's be honest. There were a couple of parts of the Penguins game in their fall or spring season that screams we need improvement, and one of those was the receivers. Whether the receivers were not getting separation from the DBs, and then when receivers were open, a lot of them weren't consistently catching the ball. One would assume that the transfer portal will hopefully be a benefit in terms of getting better receivers to come to Youngstown State for the fall.
Yeah, I think we need to get, Ron, I think that's the number one area. But we need to get bigger in size. I know Malik Moj was a big receiver, but I don't think he produced like we thought he would, and we need to get faster, and we need to get better. And I think that's a big part of the evaluation this offseason. The inability to have a consistent pass game. Was it quarterback? Was it receivers? Was it both? Was it scheme? Was it the design of the offense? I think those are things that they're going to have to take a long look at this offseason and get better. But you can't continue to win by throwing for 50, 60 yards a game. And then when you have to play from behind, it really makes it difficult. So I agree with you. I think we'll have at least 2 or 3 new receivers immediately next year that come in. You know, Ron, this year we had 11 mid-year transfers. I think we need to hit on more. We hit on Quincy Lenton, safety, certainly Jaleel McLaughlin, but there were probably 6 or 7 of those mid-year transfers that came from programs like Syracuse and Liberty and some other, pretty big programs that really didn't contribute. So when you get those guys, they got to be able to play for you.
The football season is kind of like getting hit with a fire hose because you can't really take the whole big picture in week by week because you're just preparing for the next opponent. So now that the football season for YSU is over, and you can kind of get all 22 look at it, you kind of get the blimp look at the season. What are some of your takeaways from it, and what are some of the things that you think, despite their record, the Penguins really excelled at this year that is reason to be optimistic for their fall season coming up?
Anthony, and not to be a homer, it felt better than 1-6, but at the end, the team was 1-6. I mean, it's just what it was. But I think the offensive line got a lot better from games 1 and 2, and I think they're going to get a heck of a lot better next year and the year after. I think they'll get bigger and stronger. They'll hit the weight room. That entire offensive line is going to return. Many will be back for 3 or 4 years. So I really like the offensive line. I think we found a true number one running back in Jaleel McLaughlin. I also think they believe they've got a good young talent in Dre Rushton. So I think, we had 5 games where running back, and it was McLaughlin every game, rushed for 100 yards in 5 straight games. So I think we showed the ability to run the ball. I think there's a lot of depth on the defensive line. I think they can play 7, 8, maybe 9 guys on the defensive line. I think those are the 2 areas that I think offensive and defensive line probably most pleased with, and a number 1 tailback. Need to figure out the quarterback situation. Is it going to be Mark Wade for the next 4 years? Is he the answer? Is he the guy that you think can lead you back to the playoffs? I think linebacker, you have to get some depth. We had a couple good ones, Grant Dixon and Griffin Hope, but I don't think other than those 2 there was much depth in terms of guys that could come in and play right away. And then safety. Quincy Lenton, just a sophomore, tore his Achilles. He won't play in the fall. Zaire Jones, I think, is coming back as a senior. So I think you need to, find some help. Jordan White is a safety that I think can be pretty good. But I would say the 2 lines are the biggest areas of, positive, and the biggest concern would be wide receiver and figuring out the quarterback position.
Bob, obviously we did not see a lot. We didn't see any, as a matter of fact, of Mr. Crenshaw, who a lot of folks are quite high on. And Mitch Davidson, we didn't see anything of him as well. And I know that there are naysayers that are pretty much giving up on Joe Craycraft. And a lot of folks are looking forward to possibly seeing Crenshaw and Davidson. Is it going to be we'll start Mark Wade to begin the year, or is Mark did he do enough to get that? You have the starting job. Don't worry about the off season.
No, I don't think he did enough to say that it's his job. I think they'll look at Crenshaw and Davidson. I think they probably both would have played in Game 8 had we played, although that's just one game. I think the other unknown Mark is with Mark Wade is, can he throw it from the pocket? Is he good enough to be back there and stand and make the throws? And I know I talked to Mike Tomczak, who's a quarterback consultant, and his biggest concern is Mark likes to run, and he doesn't duck away from getting hits. And Mike Tomczak said that's a recipe for disaster. You're going to get hurt, and he was sort of prophetic when Mark got hurt and separated his shoulder. So, I mean, I think those are all things they're trying to figure out. How much do they run Wade, and can they teach him, how to avoid some of those hits? But I think the quarterback position's open. I think they'll maybe look at the portal. I think you'll see more of Crenshaw in the summer, and maybe even Davidson. But I don't think anybody has that job nailed down. And the only guy that would be Mark Wade, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Mark Wade did a phenomenal job of taking over the team this season to make sure that they had someone to follow, someone to rally against. And I think you could see that, when he kind of got that starting spot, the team kind of looked different. They looked like they really respected him. But that being said, I don't think right now he's one of the guys that you could say, okay, he's for sure the quarterback of the future, and he's going to, he's not that guy yet. So I think you're absolutely right on that. I think he did a tremendous job taking over the team and being the guy that people could rally behind, but at the same time, I don't think he's that guy that well, not yet at least, that you would say he's the quarterback of the future. Not without a doubt, we don't even have to look for another guy. I don't think he's there yet.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think a lot more has to be proven before you can think he's the one that's going to lead you back and be your quarterback for several years to come.
Bob, before we let you go, and we're speaking with YSU football broadcaster Bob Hannon on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. This is a quick turnaround. This is a whole lot faster turnaround than a normal football season, where 3 months from now, this team is going to get back at it and start preparing for the upcoming season, which is going to be coming pretty quickly, early September. The Penguins will open up the season on a Thursday night at Stambaugh Stadium. The quick turnaround, is this something that may very well be against YSU, or do you think the youth of this team and the fact that the young kids finally got their feet wet, they should be able to use what we saw for springboard when the Penguins take on UIW on Thursday night, September the 2nd?
Well, I think we'll be a lot better next year. I do. I think we'll challenge for 500 in the conference. I think we'll be better. I think they'll use it as a springboard, and I think they'll use this off season as motivation. And I think they'll be a much improved team next year. Anthony asked me what I did like. I felt like we were never out of a game. I mean, in 2019, there were games we just got blown out. We didn't compete. I think this team competed. I actually think South Dakota State will win the national title and beat James Madison. That's a team we could have and maybe should have beaten. I think you can use that as motivation. We're not that far away. I think that this team's close to being competitive. I don't think we're going to maybe be a playoff team in the fall, but I think the following year we could be. So I think it'll definitely be a springboard.
Bob, is this going to be a 10-game season next year, or how many games are we playing in the fall?
10. So there'll be a Thursday night opener, then the following Saturday at Michigan State. There'll actually be a couple buys, 2 Saturday buys during the year. Ron, they looked at playing McNeese State as an 11th game. McNeese decided that they just couldn't afford, with everything that's going on, to come here late in the year and play. And once McNeese pulled out, I think it was a good move by YSU to say, let's just play 10. Coming off the spring, we don't need to force an 11th game.
All right, I see 9 games on the schedule, and obviously the 10th game would be a conference game, because right now the conference games are Western Illinois, Northern Iowa, Indiana State, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and Southern Illinois. They play Illinois State, don't they?
You know what, Ron? I thought I saw the schedule that was out with 10. Maybe I did. I'm trying to look it up as we speak. I know all 10 games were set. I'm not sure whether it was Illinois State is that 10th game or not. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it that quickly, but I know the complete schedule was set for next year, and they did have all the games in place. There's going to be a couple teams we're going to miss. Here we go. There's going to be a couple teams we're going to miss every year. I think I got it right now. You know what? I thought I did. I don't have it, but I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Here we go. I got it right now. Let me see. I got the schedule out. So we play September 2nd, Incarnate Word, then the 11th at Michigan State, Western Illinois, Northern Iowa, Missouri State, Indiana State, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Southern Illinois. That should get us to 10.
All right, so Missouri State is the 16th of October. They take the 9th off then.
So, no, we play the 9th.
Oh, okay, then you're off the 16th.
Yep,
okay.
off the 16th.
Yeah, because I didn't see Missouri State on the schedule that I have in front of me. So, all right, that makes sense. Then Missouri State is home then, correct?
Missouri State is home, yes.
All right, so
a good home schedule, Ron. Missouri
it
State,
is.
North Dakota State, South Dakota State, they all come to stand by.
Yeah, the 3 playoff teams, and then Incarnate Word to begin this season on Thursday, September 2nd. And I look at Incarnate Word, I feel like we have to go to church prior to going to this game. I just, it just looks like a religious school of some sort.
I don't know much about them. We'll know a lot more by August, but don't know a lot about them.
All right, this should be a lot of fun, and again, it's a quick turnaround, so the bumps and bruises and whatnot, get over it quick, because in about a couple of months, you're back on the football field. Hopefully, fingers crossed, nobody gets a serious injury when we go into the fall, because, again, this is a really, really quick turnaround.
It is, and then hopefully we'll be able to, get the crowds back, and by then have some, get people excited about Penguin football again.
Amen to that. Bob, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you later in the summer.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, see you. Bob Hannon, the voice of the YSU football Penguins. We'll give him a couple of months off, too.
This fall is when it's going to be judged on whether or not playing in spring was a good idea or a bad idea, because one of the biggest knocks on it was, okay, you're going to really increase the likelihood of injuries in the fall. So if you get through the fall without any really serious injuries widespread throughout the whole FCS, then you can say, well, you know what, playing in spring, we made a good call on that. But if you start to see injuries go up, then you're going to sit back and say, maybe playing in the spring wasn't that great of an idea. So that decision will be judged not based on how the playoffs go, or not based on how the season went, but it'll be judged in the fall on how that season goes, especially when it comes to how many injuries you see throughout the whole FCS.
I like the double bye though, and I think that is going to that's going to be solid for the Penguins, especially the week after Michigan State.
And you have to remember, COVID will still be a thing, so it's also in there for an extra little cushion to replace a game if need be.
Yeah, because they're going to need a bye after Michigan State, and it's not like Michigan State's a really good team. They're not. They'll be okay, but they're an FBS team, Power 5 conference.
Power 5 team.
They're
Big 10, which means they're even more physical.
Yeah, they're going to need a bye.
They're not going to play in the Big 12 where they don't believe in hitting people.
No, this is true. And then after Western Illinois, you got Northern Iowa in the Unidome. You've got Missouri State at Stambaugh. Another week off, and then you prepare for Indiana State over in where's Indiana State? Not Bloomington. What the hell's Sycamore? Is it? No, it's the Sycamores.
They are the Sycamores.
They are the Sycamores. Where the hell does Indiana State play their games? Terre Haute?
Maybe.
I think it's in Terre Haute, Indiana. And I should know this because Larry Bird went to.
You got me.
Larry Bird went to.
That's why you should know it, right? Because
Indiana
Larry Bird
State.
went to Indiana State, so you should know where it's
I
located.
mean,
because,
you would think.
You know, I mean, like.
You would think that I would know this. I think it's Terre Haute, but anyway, again you'll have the final bye week on the 16th of October, and then you'll play the rest of the season at Indiana State, South Dakota State at home, at North Dakota State at home, and then at Southern Illinois.
To Bob's point, it's a really good home schedule.
Oh my God, absolutely!
Like, it might be the best home schedule YSU has had in years. When you see the caliber of teams that are coming into Stambaugh, all in the same year, no reason for there not to be as much attendance as possible with regulations.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're going to have 3 teams that are going into the playoffs.
Missouri State, South Dakota State, North Dakota State are all coming to Stambaugh.
And there's a pretty good chance South Dakota State or North Dakota State wins the FCS championship. So, that's pretty nice. And we don't know anything about Incarnate Word. Western Illinois will be a fun game because they're the folks that beat us in their place and then quit the league. So, that'll be a lot of fun.
I think it'll be interesting to see them play the teams that they quit on, because those teams are going to be like, all right.
Yeah, so you quit on us, huh? Okay, there's no hiding here. It's a steel cage match
Illinois
now.
State's going to be like that too. Like, okay, you quit.
Yeah.
You ratted us out of the game. Nowhere to go this time.
Yeah, well, Illinois State is not on our schedule this year, which...
They're on some big boy schedules.
They're on some big boy schedules. Indiana State is on our schedule, but I got no problems with the Six.
No, they made the decision before the season started, which is all cool.
Yeah, and that's good. I got no problems
You don't mess
with
with other people's schedule when you do that. You mess with other people when you do it in the middle of the season. If it wasn't for, like, Illinois State, I think it was really for legitimate COVID and injury reasons, a little bit more so than Western Illinois, which was blatantly just because they knew they weren't winning another game this year, and they just said, peace out.
Yeah.
So Western Illinois might be in for some really hurt.
That'll be interesting to see what happens. But the good news is, I think the Missouri States, the Southern Illinois, the North Dakotas, they got to the playoffs, so all's well that ends well. If one of those teams hadn't gotten to the playoffs and Western Illinois was one of the reasons why, then I think you would probably be looking at a pretty interesting football game in the fall. But because all those teams did get into the playoffs, I don't think there's going to be much of a bad taste in anyone's mouth over this, because those teams are in the FCS playoffs, and we'll see what happens.
You dodged a bullet, Western Illinois.
Yeah, you did. You dodged a bullet, Western Illinois. Yeah, but we have a score to settle with them because they beat us, and they are on our schedule at Stambaugh.
Apparently, according to Dominic Foxworthy, if you play at Youngstown State, you're just not a worthy opponent at all. So did you see his comments on ESPN where he said
he's
that
an idiot?
He was talking about Trey Lance. If you didn't see it, he was talking about Trey Lance, and he was saying, well, his highlights are impressive, but I see penguins in the end zone of one of his highlights, and I go, he's playing against Youngstown State. How impressive is that highlight? So that's what he said, and that's what his take was. I get where he's coming from. Trey Lance doesn't play against the teams that Justin Fields plays against or Trevor Lawrence plays against, but at the same time, the way you word it like that, it's you got to be, you're slapping in the face of a bunch of athletes that are still Division I football athletes.
And my argument to his outrageous statement is the greatest wide receiver of all time and the greatest running back not named Jim Brown of all time both went to an FCS school.
Okay, I'll just play devil's advocate. That doesn't mean that team or that team is great. Okay, they have some good players, but when you're playing against that defense and you're judging a quarterback going against that team's defense, saying, well, that team one time had a receiver that went to the pros and he was one of the best receivers, I'm not saying I agree with his take. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate to what
I get
you're
it.
saying.
I get what you're saying.
I get what he's saying. The way he worded it is what's really ticking me off, because when you word it like that and make Youngstown State, and he singled out Youngstown State, he didn't say the teams that he plays against in a broad statement. He said Youngstown State specifically. You're really taking a dump on all those kids that work hard to get to Youngstown State, and they're playing at still an elite level of football. I don't care. It's still Division I. It might be the FCS subcategory. It's still Division I football. It's still better than Division II, better than Division III. So you're kind of taking a dump on their lawn.
Yeah, and I kind of think he took a dump on the MVAC, the Missouri Valley
right.
MVFC, the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
What he could have said is just simply the competition Trey Lance plays against doesn't measure up to the other quarterbacks in the draft. Valid point. That would have been fine. It's a valid point. When you single out a team and you basically make Youngstown State seem like they're hot garbage, that's when people really start to, why are you saying that on ESPN? Like, what?
Yeah. Wasn't a good look.
Wasn't a good look.
Of course, that's not the first time he said something stupid.
No,
so
he's not my favorite analyst on ESPN.
Yeah, he is paid to say stupid stuff, pretty much. He's a lightning rod. He's paid to pay. He's paid to be controversial, and part of the controversial stuff is, I'll just make some news doing this. Okay, well, the reason why you're making news doing this is probably because your sports knowledge is, and you're paid to be a hitman, as it were. So you put a hit on YSU, and look at this! There's all these highlights against Youngstown State. Well, who's Youngstown State? Okay. All right. You kind of put a hit out on the Missouri Valley Football Conference as well. I'm sure that he would have done the same thing.
That's going to be playing in the
16 years ago when Roethlisberger was. Who's Ohio University?
Right.
Okay.
That might be playing on a loop in Youngstown State's locker room for a while.
You think? Yeah, I would be a little pissed off about that.
And every time someone does something good, they're going to tag him in Twitter. Be like, look at this.
Yeah.
Could you do this?
Yeah, I would be a little taken aback and pissed off if I was in the Youngstown State football program
Absolutely.
right now. No question. We'll take a time out. Be back with more. It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Bad credit, no problem. I can get you approved for a low-interest loan and maybe even a low-payment lease on a new car at the #1 Chevy dealership in Trumbull County for 3 years in a row. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved or come see me, Tony Page, to get a new vehicle today. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwick. So Friday, you and DJ and I were having a lively conversation about
Thursday.
Was it Thursday or Friday?
I'm not here on
that's right. You're right. It was Thursday because you aren't here on Fridays. You're right.
DJ had to come educate you a little bit.
Yeah, a lively conversation on the topic of you cannot win a division in April, but you can lose the division in April. It's something that's been said for quite some time. And it got me to thinking, you know what, I'm going to do a little bit of investigation on this, and we're going to have some fun with this. So I went back, all the way back, to the beginning of divisional play.
Oh, not that far back.
No, not that far back. Divisional play, the hippie era, if you will. The Summer of Love. Now, actually, not 68. It was the Summer of Woodstock. 1969 was the... That's tomorrow.
Woodstock.
But that's tomorrow. That's
No.
420 is... that's tomorrow when you do that. The 1969 is when divisional play began. So we have to throw out 2 baseball seasons. We have to throw out the summer of 94, and we have to throw out 2020. And the reason why... 94 did not have a playoffs. In 2020, we didn't play baseball in April. Everyone was starting in July. So those 2 years were thrown out. So you're looking at 50 years worth of baseball. The criteria for me was buried is 8 games or further out of first place. But I actually picked one team that was 7.5 games out of first place. I actually put this one team on the list because they actually won a World Series. They were down 7.5 games at the end of April, came back, won their division, and actually won the World Series. Take a guess as to how many teams since 1969 have come back from, in this one team's case, 7.5 games or further to win their division.
After April, you mean? Like 7.5
After April. So it's after April. So come May the 1st, standings are out. X team is 7.5 games in one team's case, mainly 8 games or more to come back and win the division since 1969. Keep in mind, this is 250 divisions total.
You're puffing your chest, so I'm guessing it's going to be low. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so giddy about this.
It's extremely low.
I'm going to say 4.
3.
Ooh.
3. And this is interesting. The team that came back the largest deficit wasn't even in last place. In the 1987 season, Detroit was in the American League East. The Indians were in last place, 10.5 games back. Detroit was in a tie for 5th place, 10 games out of first place. They came back, they won their division. That was by far and away the largest deficit at the end of April. The 1979 World Series champion Pittsburgh Pirates were 7.5 games out of first place on May the 1st. And that was about that time they picked up Tim Foley, and everything just went on an upward trend, and they went off and won. 2015 was the last time a team came from 8 games out at the end of April to win their division, and they went to the World Series. It was the Texas Rangers in 2015.
They did not go to the World Series in 2015 because the Royals.
Oh, that's right. You're absolutely right. Texas.
I was like, wait a minute.
Texas went. Did Texas play the Royals in the?
No, they lost to the Blue Jays in the DS.
Okay, but they went to the playoffs.
They went to the playoffs.
They went to the playoffs as the Western Division winners.
It was a year before that the A's had a big lead in August and just completely crapped on themselves in September. So that was a year before. But
there are 2 teams since 1995 when the wild card came to play. Mm-hmm. There are 2 teams that buried themselves in last place in their division and turned around and went to the wild card. The 2001 Oakland A's, which this was an amazing statistic. They're 12 games out at the end of April, 9 games out in the wild card, and they turned around and won the wild card in 2001. That was when there was only one team involved. The Pirates in 2014 were 9.5 games back in last place in their division, 6 out in the wild card race, and they wound up getting the number 1 wild card seed in 2014. But those are the 5 teams that have that have ultimately gone into postseason, whether it was a divisional winner or as a wild card team from the end of April. I think this is fascinating. You did a little bit of research on this.
To scientifically prove that statement, you would also have to dive into how many teams did not reach the playoffs or win their division after having big leads after April, 7.5 or more. Because then you could really say, okay, there's some solidity to this statement.
Okay.
So you'd have to dive into that. I would be interested to see those numbers. How many teams had a big lead after April and lost it?
I can tell you that the 87 season, Milwaukee was in first place in the American League East with a 17-3 record. And they wound up finishing in third behind Detroit, who was 10 games out of first place. That's the biggest May 1st, end of April deficit to come back and win the division. But Milwaukee was on fire in the month of April. They were 17-3 the month of April, but they didn't win their division. I'll have to. That's a great point, and you probably should look on the flip side of that. How many teams have won or finished in first place at the end of April, and then they didn't win their division? That's something that to certainly look into, because there were some teams. The 84 Tigers that come to mind that was just blowing everybody out of the water in 84, and they wound up winning their division pretty convincingly. But on the flip side of that, yeah, that's something I definitely want to look into. And that's fun looking back all the years of, not so much fun when you're looking at the Indians going, oh yeah, you guys did do a pretty crappy job in the 70s. You weren't very
80s.
Good.
They weren't that good in the 80s either.
No. I remember the picture of Corey Snyder and Joe Carter. This is the team that'll win the World Series. Oh, Jesus. Here we go. 100 plus losses later. Yeah, thanks a lot, Sports Illustrated. Great jinx. So there is some validity to the you can't win the division or you can lose your division in April argument. There is some validity to that. But the other side of it, I definitely want to investigate that as well.
So we'd have to see if there's validity and you can't win the division in April.
Yeah, I think there's...
If there's not, then the whole statement still goes out of the window. Because
Yeah.
Because of course you can do one or the other. You can win or the... But if
the other side of this, interestingly enough, in the National Football League, there has not been a team in NFL playoff history. Now, you have to go AFC-NFC merger, which was 1970.
69, right?
Well, 69 was the last year for the AFL and the NFL. That was Super Bowl IV, was 69 season, 70 year. But 1970, the AFL and the NFL merged. So you had Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Baltimore moved from the NFL to the AFC to even things out. But since 1970, no National Football League team has ever gone to the playoffs starting the season 0-5. It's never been done before. And only one team in the history of the merger, so 50 years or give or take a year or two, only one team has started out the season 0-4 and gone into the postseason. That was the San Diego Chargers.
Also, the flip side: how many teams have started 5-0 and missed the playoffs?
That's a great question, and something that I would love to. I'd love to see. But obviously, you start out slow. You're not gonna. You're not gonna. You're not. Your window gets a whole lot tinier if you start out slow.
Back to, and I'm trying, but I think one of DJ's points was it's better to have a bad month at the beginning of the season because then your window gets smaller. Yes, but you still have the time.
Oh, I get it.
It's still possible. If you have a bad August, well, then you have no time to get it back. So I think that's that's the whole argument against it is like you can have not a terrible April. Let's say you have a bad April.
Yeah, you can have a bad April. New York Yankees are a great example. Right. They suck right now. By the way, I'm smiling like a butcher's dog the fact that the Yankees suck right now. But let's be honest.
You picked them to go to the World Series.
Absolutely.
So
but I'm fine with this. I mean, they're on a 5-game losing streak. They're 5-10, and the media is already crushing them. But let's be honest. I mean, when the season comes to an end, there's a pretty good chance the Yankees are going to wind up winning the division. 5 games out, that's not a lot of ground to make up per se. So I think the Yankees will be in pretty good shape. But right now, they're struggling. But this is a great example. They're not burying themselves quite yet, but if they're 4 or 5 out at the end of April, they'll win their division. I don't think there's any question about that because they'll have plenty of time. But if they wind up 8, 9, 10 games out of first place, now you better you better realize now just how difficult it is to come back and win a division when you've buried yourself, even for a team as good as the Yankees on paper. So I'll be curious to see what happens. Right now, the only team that's buried themselves in terms of being 8 or more games out of first place at the moment is Colorado. And I don't think Colorado's catching the Dodgers. I don't think a lot of teams are going to be catching the Dodgers.
The Dodgers still haven't lost the series.
Yeah, that series with San Diego was fun, though. Oh, man, that was a fun series. That had everything. A little brouhaha on Friday night. Clayton Kershaw, of all people, that got annoyed with one of the players that didn't get out of the way of a pitch, and Kershaw thought he should have gotten out of the way and said something that Kershaw normally doesn't say. And he got into a little verbal altercation with someone at first base, and it was a fun series. Fun series.
That's the sore spot in the MLB because there was the guy that clearly was in the zone.
Yep.
He hit his elbow, so now all the pitchers are kind of on high alert of that because it just happened about a week ago. So.
Well, not only that, the umpires are now on high alert because if a ball is in the strike zone it hits the batter, I don't care if it hits you, that's a strike.
Right.
Wait a second, it hit me. Well, you were in the strike zone. The ball went across the inside part of the plate. That's a strike.
If the ball comes out of the strike zone, you don't have to move, right? You can just take it.
Yeah, you can take it.
But you have to move it. I mean, if it's in the strike zone, you shouldn't have to move because you shouldn't be in the strike zone at all. But
no. but it would be a weird call to make. But if you're hanging out and your elbows are on the inner half of the plate, and the ball comes in and clips you on the elbow, but on the inner half of the plate, that's a strike. It's probably going to lead to a big old rhubarb at the plate, but it's a strike. Learn something new every day.
Yep, and it's a strike.
Yeah. We'll take a time out, be back with more. It is a Monday edition.
When we get back, we'll preview the night's games on the network.
And we do have some games on the network tonight for sure. That's coming up in a bit. Stick around.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Erin Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Jimmy Sudman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com as we get set to make room for Power Hour coming up in a few minutes. You got tonight's schedule on the dockets.
I certainly do, and we're going to start things off with DK heading over to Mohawk in Pennsylvania as they take on Beaver Falls. That's baseball, of course. Struthers and Niles, both baseball and softball, will both be on the network. Their school does a good job of covering us there. Canfield is going to be taking on Austintown Fitch. Baseball, I mean, what else can you ask for, right?
Yeah, no doubts.
We got a little bit robbed of that matchup the first time around with weather, so now we're going to get the full swing of Fitch versus Canfield.
The full Monty.
Not that. No one wants that. Campbell is hosting Badger baseball. East Liverpool baseball is hosting Indian Creek. Salem baseball hosting LeBray, and then we'll have South Range versus Hubbard, both baseball and softball. I'll be at the softball game. B. Miller will be calling the baseball game. All these games can be found on ysnlive.com/live for the list of live games.
Okay, go back to that Canfield and Fitch game. That's in...
Canfield is the host team according to our...
Okay.
So I'm sure it'll be Canfield then Fitch the next day. So.
Okay, yeah, because if it's Canfield, then you're not going to have the game under the lights. But there's a
5 o'clock start time.
Yeah,
so.
there could be a chance, maybe, just maybe, you have the game under the lights on a Tuesday night in Austintown. That would be pretty cool. Although the weather forecast, after today, it's going to be a little hit and miss because the weather's going to be kind of weird. A high of 42 with snow on Wednesday. 49, it'll be a little chilly on Thursday, 61 on Friday, 61 and showers on Saturday. Tomorrow, looking at 56 degrees, somewhere in that vicinity. So it'll be a little chilly for the next few days, but we'll see what happens.
We will see, and tomorrow is Tuesday. I won't be on the show, unfortunately, but you'll have a lot of softball to talk about.
Yeah, most definitely.
And baseball.
Yeah, most definitely. You're back on Wednesday.
Back on Wednesday.
And Thursday as well, and we'll get some softball coaches lined up for Thursday, and we'll go from there. But it's the weekend was fun. Hopefully the teams will continue. Teams that were on a pretty good roll this weekend, hopefully they will continue to keep on that roll. And, man, that Canfield-Fitch game tonight in Canfield, oh, gosh, that's going to be a good game.
Tomorrow's 420, so I know everyone knows it but also remember it is the anniversary of the Columbine shootings, and that holds a special place in my heart because Rachel's Challenge, which is the foundation made from Rachel Scott, who was one of the kids killed in Columbine, came to South Range during my high school career. One of the things that really impacted me there and kind of, molded me who I am today. So just while you're making the jokes and everything, remember that it is the anniversary of the Columbine shooting, which in my opinion changed our world because
it changed in a lot of ways.
Ever since then, we've been seeing every time we get close to April 20th, we get school shootings. Unfortunately, it's one of those things people get a little bit antsy when it gets close to Columbine because they want to try to be like those guys or whatever, but so just remember that tomorrow, and while you're making the 420 jokes, everybody just take the deep breath and remember that it is the anniversary of Columbine.
So tomorrow may or may not be up in smoke. I'm just throwing that out there.
But
all right, that'll do it for the show today.
I didn't bring the dad jokes today. You did.
This is true. I did. It wasn't a joint effort today.
Oh.
Okay. Good times. All right. Power Hour is coming up next. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everyone.